Good evening, everybody. The time is 7:40. I would like to call this meeting to order. With that being said, Vice President Ferguson, would you do the invocation, please?
Good evening, everyone. Father, thank you for the goodness and the mercy. We just thank you for keeping us again to be able to participate in. Father, we ask that you will be with me and be our pleasant wisdom and knowledge. And Father, with the country peace, and we invoke this peace here tonight in Jesus' name. And Father, thank you for the angels in the name of Jesus. We thank you for the citizens that are participating with the purpose and first bless the city in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Vice President Ferguson. So this meeting is being recorded. Madam Clerk, could you roll call, please?
Certainly. Councilwoman Fareed,
Here.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Here.
Councilmember Hairston,
Here.
Councilmember Herring,
Here.
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Vice President Ferguson,
Here.
and President Curtis.
Here. That's 7 in attendance. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So,
Second,
Second.
any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President. Can we add, council comments on the end, after citizens comment?
Council comments on the end after citizens' comments. Sorry, any objections? No? All right, so we'll be adding council comments. Any other discussion? All right. With that, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fareed,
yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes. Can you hear me?
yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote is 7-0. Vote carried.
And for all the citizens in the room, Councilwoman Jones is in attendance, but due to extenuating circumstances, she is remote. So just want to give you that FYI. All right, with that, first on the agenda are the administrative reports. Mayor Cross, your 5-minute report. And citizens, you should have the mayor's report in your packets.
So thank you very much, Council President, and thank you, citizens. For the mayor's report, I'd like to just make sure that I highlight a few things that are in the package. The key things that we want to highlight is that we do have our ARPA project moving ahead, which is very important to acknowledge. But we also want to highlight that unfortunately we did move Ms. Consuela Barber as the city manager on October the 18th. We're actively searching for a new manager. We have mentor sessions that have been going on with the Jude House as well as the City House, as we are working towards securing our returning citizens have all of the knowledge that's required to return to our community well, and that we are able to incorporate them. Growing Green has been one of our key pieces that we supported with Doug Sylvania Wood over the course of the 2 years that I've been here, and in that partnership with Prince George's County. We're also moving in the direction of supporting projects that will meet the needs of the citizens in our parks. The 7th Street Park, we were able to move forward on not working with the National Fitness Parks at this time, though we are moving forward with the efforts that are supporting the park there at the Martin Luther King site. We have attended Prince George's County's meetings in Annapolis. We will be working on working to support legislation that will be coming in the January timeframe when session comes into session. We'll also be reviewing our tax differential commission, which was submitted by our treasurer as we prepare for our audit here. We have engaged in outreach with our communities, with the Maryland Municipal League on multiple occasions, and we've also engaged in forums for the democratic system. You may not know this, but last month we opened up a forum which welcomed Maryland Municipality Month. So municipalities are recognized, and we do have a program called I Will Mayor, which we work with our 4th graders, and they will actually start to feel what they think a city should be like, and also make proposals. They are in contact, and then the winning 4th grader is actually showcased in Annapolis, and they get to meet the governor. So it's a really big event for our young folks to participate in. As we go forward, I put in several legislation that is really key for us, that will allow you to know, some different things that are able to be taken advantage of, like free dental care, if you are at a certain level of income. So that is something that we want to make sure that you are aware of as well. Looking at the applications for the water quality improvement program, as well as building community resilience. So we are practicing small plant resilience programs across Prince George's County, like tree planting, urban tree increasing the tree canopy. So I just presented that as applications or be requested and can be fulfilled. We also not only improve the tree canopy in the city of Glenarden, but there's money out there available for it. We just completed the statewide elections for Annapolis. So January 11th shall be 2023 shall be the first day of the 2023 session at the General Assembly. So we have several different legislation that I know is coming on the docket. So next year we'll make sure that we bring those to you in due season. November 11th, Veterans Day, was very well done by the American Legion, Post 275. We had the opportunity to go there and represent and support. We also want to acknowledge that on tomorrow, we will be having the Open Thanks holiday giveaway for Thanksgiving. So we want to make sure our citizens know to come out and participate in that. We do have the MML Legislative Committee priority meetings, and that is still something that we're working towards as we're creating our own police accountability board, and then also looking at those charging committees and committees that will help us to adopt strategic initiatives in the coming years. We're focusing on the community, and we're focusing on the intersections of notifications and transparency, as well as privacy. And if they're engaging in more of our committees, they will continue to look at this legislation, particularly as it pertains to our seniors, as well as our citizens with diversity and inclusion at the forefront. So I do want to acknowledge that there is medical assistance programs beginning January 1st, 2023. They do have some limitations, but as I stated, they will be for dental services, including diagnostic, preventive, and restorative and periodontal services. The governor is actually looking at January 1st as well, bringing in legislation that will support the Department of Assessments and Taxation as we push towards website certain information as far as plain language to ensure that when citizens go to the website, that you're able to actually understand the legislation that's being put forward. So they're actually writing toward ensuring that when we're determining the real value of property, as you see many developments being built around the city of Glenarden, there's also much development throughout the city. So making sure that there's a common language for property, not only commercial property, but the governing body is clear in its communication to the citizens. And then the landlord and tenant residential lease, tenant rights and protection. We've had over the course of the last month, a couple of inquiries from citizens relative to landlord tenant rights. So I found legislation that's actually gonna come forward dealing with utility billing systems and making certain lease provisions, enhancing the landlord, well, forgive me, enforcing the landlord if it fails to make these disclosures during reasonable hours as well, so that the tenants will have, not be victim, if you will, to these utility bills. There are several other changes afoot. We'll make sure that we put those in the upcoming document for November. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions from the council before we move on? Good. I'm sorry, Councilman Harry.
Yes, President, I do have a couple of questions. Mayor, on your, I see you had your Harvard Day rewind. You had members at that event, did they pay permission?
So I didn't handle any of the money. I never handle any of the money that is associated with my executive assistant. And I believe he had support also from our administrative assistant down in the police department. But I don't touch any of the funds. What I was told and shown was that there was funds taken up and receipts were paid.
So you're saying vendors paid, that's how that, vendors paid $25 for a vendor tag?
That's what I was shown. Now, what I do have, and I did inquire of the treasurer relative to that is, where do we have it as far as legislation that that's what we should be doing? But I do know that my executive assistant showed me bills that have been paid, or at least received.
Okay, I guess my issue is that I do know that the money was refunded or not collected. So no permit fees were paid for the vendors down there. And I did, in chapter 71 of our code requires that a permit be obtained for any business down in the city of Glenarden. I think the city was very generous, but the code actually says if you're not listed on that schedule of people who should get permits, then you have to pay $250. So what we normally do when we did it to Glenarden Day is that we say, okay, that we don't think that's fair, because you probably won't get that much. So we'll just go ahead and say you can do a $25 permit, which is what we charge our citizens for a yard sale. So you're saying that permits haven't gotten, or you're saying that you don't know it?
I was shown permit receipts, like when we give a permit receipt to our vendors, I was shown these. So as far as I am aware, there were funds taken.
Well, I mean, I'm just letting you know, I know for a fact that the funds were not, one check not cashed and one check was refunded. I mean, one thing was refunded, so permits were not given. And not only for this event, but for your previous events, were permits given for events that you had. I know you had quite a few in Polar Express. And I was, were permits given for, we were permits applied for that.
So Polar Express from last year,
Yes.
okay, I don't know, I don't touch money, I don't deal with money. I hand that over to our executive assistant to handle that. And also the city manager at the time, because I don't touch the money. Only thing I do is make sure that the event as a whole is prepared and ready. So for that, I don't touch that piece. That's handled between the treasurer and whomever. I don't touch the money. But because I don't have the money anyway, so the money is associated with the city manager's budget.
Okay, so this is an event that you had that you clearly sponsor, that you put all, that you are sponsoring it. And as a sponsor, you're not ensuring that all the ordinances are being upheld, which is one of the core responsibilities that you have in your housing, duties in the charter. They said that you are supposed to uphold all ordinances, in the city of Menard now, ordinance required to commit, so you're saying you look, all this responsibility for any permits that are required for any event that you have. Now, I've had Menard there a number of years in a row, and all of the things permits for our members. So I'm not understanding why you're driving yourself with responsibility as the mayor, when you're one of the 4 duties that you actually have is to uphold ordinances in the community.
So now, this is the first that I'm hearing that these are returned, because I'm telling you that we took up, and I was shown that we took up money from anybody that was vending. And let me just say this for the record. Most of the time when people come to support these events, these are free things. They don't take money, they give things away. Everything from like food to books and resources. So traditionally, our vendors are resource providers. We don't have vendors out there traditionally that are making profit. Now, whenever there is a vendor that is making profit, then I turn that over to the city manager and the executive assistant, and then between them and the treasurer, they do what's necessary to ensure those funds. So I don't touch any of that money. Now, I will tell you that I did see paid vouchers from the event, and I'll be happy to follow up and see what happened.
Again, like I said, you have these events, and I know there were a number of events that were expressed that were set, and a number of them. So I'm just saying, I'm just asking a question about, upholding the ordinances that are, passed in the city based on, what the code says and the charter says. So you're saying you're talking about responsibility when it comes to your events that you have, that you hold, when it comes down to make sure those ordinances are upheld in the city of Menard. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I do not absorb myself of any responsibility. What I do tell you is that particularly on this event that we're talking about, I saw paid receipts. Now, I want to go back to something you said, Councilman. We charged them $25 because the code says a private affair. Can you define the difference between a city-sponsored affair and a private affair? Because a private yard sale is not on the city of Menard property. Now, this is a private yard. This is public property. So I want to understand if this is an invite to an event that the city sponsored, how are we then, and why don't we have some code that actually addresses a city-sponsored event? Because I really feel like, based on what you said, we're circumventing an ordinance by making people pay for something without being forthcoming on that requirement to pay. Because as of right now, you're saying a private yard sale, but these aren't private, they're city public events.
Okay, Mayor, so we can be clear on this. The code, which was passed by ordinance, section 103-1, license required, application contents, time availability. No person, no private business, no person shall engage in or carry on any business, trade, or profession or calling in the city for which the license is imposed by terms of this chapter without having person paying a license to do so. So it does typically apply to whatever you're saying. It's saying business is not just mean that's city. And again, that's the code, which, if you knew there was questions about it, you should have went in and reviewed it instead of making assumptions. But right now you're making assumptions that maybe you look like you don't know what you're doing, honestly. That's where you get in trouble. So my thing is, again, the section of code does say that if they're not listed in this list of fees that we have, then they should be $50. Person out there that's there, somebody trying to make money on a business that, they did on homemade crafts or something. I think $25 is fair, not $50. And I'm not understanding why this can't say you made a mistake. Because that's basically what you did. You had people come in here, sign And I seen another citizen in the community where they had to go every hour. And they had yards that shut down, because they didn't get something. So people coming in from outside the city are not more fully in citizens in this community. But this is, I've got to think about all the things, I don't see no reason why this is true. With somebody might come in from outside the city and about.
Councilman, there's no issue, but what I do want to make perfectly clear, that you have a lot of knowledge about something, why didn't you, with your fiduciary duty, make sure that there was payment? I don't recall at the Polar Express seeing you go to any vendor and asking for their $25 if you had any doubt that that was paid. Nor did any council member show up for the Harvest Day Rewind. So I will say this, what you're telling me seems to be hearsay, because I'm telling you that I saw a paid voucher from vendors, which was provided by my executive assistant. Now, that is my responsibility. Now, I asked for a report as to what particularly gives us as a post the right to charge. Now, if we're gonna charge, then yes, let's get the money. But we definitely want to make sure that we're upfront and transparent. But now, if citizens or you, as council member, saw anybody that you thought didn't have paid any money, there wasn't anybody asking any questions. In fact, we all celebrate and have a good time. So, I mean, there is a fiduciary duty on the council as well, and if you felt like something wasn't done and appropriate, then ask the question and we could have taken care of it that day. But I will say, I saw paid receipts.
So to close out this argument, Councilman Harry, you have the last word.
Yes, let me just say this, Mayor, I'm not the mayor. I did not take the oath, I took an oath to uphold the ordinances in the city, as well as you did. It was not my event was Glen Arden Day, and the other event that I had, we collected permits, permit fees for them. You, as mayor, need to crack open that charter and read it. And I'm gonna tell you, I know for a fact that you were made aware of this before your event happened. Now, I'm not going to the back and forth on it, but I wanted to get a few emails to show that you were notified of this. Requirement of permits being required for your vendors before the time. So, I mean, that's another thing in and of itself, but you did know, you know, so if you want to stop putting emails, you can do that. I can have T-Spec, get in touch with T-Spec for all the emails that went out, put it in Harvest Day Rewind and see what we get. I guarantee, I know, I just know that we'll take you saying permits are required, and you said, I don't want to charge you.
And I'm telling
Thank
you,
you.
I saw
Point of order. So point of,
I'm just saying what I know.
So, we're not gonna go back and forth. Councilman Herring had the last word on this. Councilman Herring, do you have any other
Yeah,
questions?
that's another question. So may I just like to ask, where is your legislation for the rental housing requirement, in the rental housing assistance that you were talking about last month? You said you could have one ready for us in a week. You said it was a critical need of the city went on for rental housing assistance, and you went on and on about it. And you said, I said, well, if you bring it up to station, you said you would have it in a week, and I was where it is.
Correction, Mayor, I believe it was that evening. I believe the mayor said she would have it that evening or by that morning.
Oh, but I knew it was supposed to be, you supposed to have it soon. I'm just asking where is it?
So I was under the impression that the council did not want to go forward with that. Because if I recall, Councilman Harris, you know, from you saying if we do that for one, then we have to do it for all. So with that email, I said, okay, so I also saw a legislation that came out so recently that stated that we were doing something with rental housing assistance eventually. So therefore, I took from that email that the council did not want to move forward with that.
Okay, first of all, when you read my email, make sure you read it from beginning to the end. I said that we cannot go and give $10,000 to somebody just because they asked for it, without no criteria in place. Because if you do it wrong, you got to go law. That's what I said. So get my email and read it. Second of all, you said there was a critical need. And you see the critical need, you did not bring any legislation to the floor as of yet, this critical need. So is the need no longer there? That's what I'm asking. Because you were adamant about it being assistant for rental assistant, but it seems to me, once you address your one issue, you're done. So you're one and done. So if somebody comes to you with a complaint, you can address it, and then you're done. You're not worrying about the rest of the community, because you didn't bring anything to us, and I was waiting to see what you want to bring. And the council didn't say something, but not like this. If you're gonna bring something, and the council is gonna bring something, then we could have merged it and made it work for the city as a whole. But if you have not brought anything, and you say it's gonna be that, I don't believe it's gonna be a week, I don't know what saying, you said the next day or the. Or something like that, and that's what is your legislation, and is the critical need still there?
The need is still there, but based on our discussion, I actually took that need to account. And the county has an actual program, is working with that particular community member to try and resolve that need. So with that being said, that need is support. But we can definitely look at the legislation that the council has put. Again, my apologies if I read your email as it is not a requirement. If you have that requirement still, then I've turned in guidelines on the previous legislation that we had, working with the former city manager. That guideline is still out there, and we can present that guideline, and we also have all of the proof for that particular resident, that they need. So I even have everything from eviction, company, feedback, we can provide that as well. So we have all the document proof, and I believe I actually provided that when I submitted my request for support to the council, but I can pull that email back to the top.
Okay, so again, I come back to the question. So once you address that one person's critical need, you do not see the need for the rest of the people in the community who may be in the same situation because you chose not to bring any type of legislation to the floor. For us to even consider, you know, again, my thing is, when I see a critical need, I bring legislation. I saw a critical need for HOA to get assistance, I brought legislation, not just for one, I knew one in particular that needed. But I knew we had 6 in it, so I'm just trying to do that. So a critical need for the housing authority, I along with other council members for legislation. For that, you know, so I'm just asking, when does your critical need begin, end, and when do you, at what point do you see it's necessary to bring legislation that's going to benefit the entire community, not just your one such person?
Well, I'm gonna ask that we don't single out one special person. There is a greater need in the community. As we know that many people took the rental assistance buyout program in July. There's a lot of people that just hasn't maybe brought that to the forefront. This is just the citizen that actually brought it to the forefront. Over the course of the last year, we've had 2 people actually go homeless, and I was able to help them get housing through the county support because this system didn't move fast enough. But we can definitely readdress that need for that citizen to see if the county has or has not helped. We can definitely look across the city to see if more needs have popped up. I just know that that was the most pressing need. Doesn't say that there wasn't a need across the other pieces of the city.
All right, now, I'm going to end this right quick because the issue I have is that you just said this person needed it, this person needed it, and many other people out there that need it. But I'm not worried about them, you're not bringing any legislation to address it. That's basically what I heard, because you haven't brought anything to the floor to address the other people out there that you say may be out there that have a critical need for rental assistance or some other kind of assistance. But thank goodness, our council members, Fareed and Ferguson, they're bringing legislation to have a rental assistance program with criteria that will benefit the entire city. So obviously, like I said, you're one and done. You work with your one person, when you're done, you move on to the next one. When instead of doing something that's gonna benefit the whole city, that's gonna benefit the entire community in the situation, because we know a lot of people do have needs and issues. And instead of just saying, I work with this one person, I went to the county for them, well, what about everybody else that's sitting out there and looking for help? So I'm done with the question right now, I'm done.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Thank you. I'll go to Councilman Fareed and then Councilman Dion.
Yeah, I just wanted to, clarify for the record, to see which the conversations that were just, identified or had. The email, came before our last regular meeting. The email in which the council, Mr. Perry was referenced on the email that he sent, that was before our last regular meeting. Also, in our last regular meeting, the mayor pointed out that she had sought assistance from the county for that resident. So that also preceded the conversation, the lengthy conversation, if anyone wants to go back to that regular meeting, in which we discussed it. And the final final decision was that the mayor was going to bring forth legislation for the council to consider, to bring forward, someone would sponsor it, typically it's the council president, but that was the last action. And so that was what we were looking for at this meeting.
Councilman McGill?
Sure, thank you, Council President. I too was going to go down the sequence of events, and I want the citizens to also know that per the Open Meetings Act and Open Communication that we hold as elected officials, you are privy to a lot of this information. So at any given time, if you're hearing us say, you said this on this date, you said this on that date, you can actually ask for that to be seen. So based on what Councilwoman Fareed mentioned, the email exchange between Councilman Herring and the mayor on the 16th took place on October the 15th. Our last meeting that we all had here was on October 17th. That was 2 days later. And at that October 17th meeting, which you all can pull up on the website on October 17th, I believe Council Vice President also and others on, other colleagues broke down the process as to how or why have we not gotten a resolution. And Mayor, this is how you're supposed to do it. You've been a mayor for X number of months/a year. During that particular meeting, that's when you stated what Councilwoman Fareed just stated, so I don't need to repeat. But you also then stated that you can do something that same night/the next morning. So that was the sequence of events. There has been no other meetings or any email exchanges from you regarding that at all. So just wanted to put that on record. The other thing about that, and thank you, Councilman Herring, for mentioning or for thanking Councilman Fareed, myself, and Vice President Ferguson for bringing forth legislation, and also Councilwoman Jones, who is here virtually. I want to go on record and say that Meg, you've been going around taking credit for certain things that are not accurate. These are things that we were already planning, and we also stated, and you can look at some minutes, and I can quote which date or which minutes during the summer, where we stated, specifically Councilwoman Jones said that she would co-sponsor with me during the summer, where we stated that we would not continue pushing for ARPA legislations without the administration bringing forth a project. So these things were already here. We were just waiting for somebody to administer them so we can move it forward. So just put on record and say that.
Thank you. I did have 2 questions for the mayor. 1 second. So 2 questions as it relates to your mayor's report. What I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, that you said that you're putting forth that you have put forth legislation for a dental program. Is that true, or did I mishear that?
You misheard that. Actually, that legislation was put forth by the state of Annapolis, and that's in the end of my report.
Okay. And the other question I had was to the committees. You said those committees were working to bring forward some action to your committee. Is that correct? To your various committees, whether the understood to be youth advisory committees and other committees that you have. Is that correct, or am I misunderstanding that?
I'm sorry, say again.
In your report, you said that your committees were working together to bring out more legislation or initiatives. Did I hear that correctly?
So, Council President, what we are working towards is looking at legislation that impact our citizens. And each one of those pieces of legislation I put in my report. And just for that dental program, that was chapter 302. That was through Maryland Medical Assistance Program, digital coverage for adults. You'll see that in the last pages of my report, and then you'll also see the effective dates. So that was already put forward by Health and Government Operations. Let me just say this, and I just want to go back to Councilwoman Guillaume's point. You're absolutely correct that there has been no movement on ARPA because we do not have an ARPA program manager. So we have written legislation upon legislation and done nothing with them because nobody's moving on them because there's no ARPA manager. Now, I want to say this, October the 7th, I have a message sent to the city council of Leonardo, the city manager Barbara, as well as the treasurer is copied in this message, where I advise you and the deputy clerk that I say, good afternoon. We have a resident who has been waiting for rental assistance, and I have made the city manager aware several months ago, because city council had put the city manager in a role of interfacing between the mayor and the city council. That's your new organizational chart. So I submitted this to the city manager months ago. The city manager told me she was gonna bring this to the council and make sure that everything was taken care of. October the 7th, I sent a message to you to find out that had not happened. And as also, we had talked about the intergenerational gap fund, and I had written guidelines to support that particular legislation. I sent that to the city manager, and unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but I have all those emails as well, with me corresponding with her and the city council in correspondence as well.
Thank you.
So that dates back to October 7th.
Thank you,
But
Madam.
I have to say something because I was the one that sponsored
Mhm.
the intergenerational poverty relief fund. And what you sent me, and I made sure that I sent it to you and the city manager and the council. What you sent me were guidelines based on a resolution or legislation that you clearly did not hear or were not present to really focus on what the guidelines were supposed to be. Because what you wanted the intergenerational poverty relief fund to do was not what it was intended to do in the first place. And what I am not, and I made sure I said this to my colleagues, is I am, and yourself included with the city manager, I am not going to deceive the citizens and create legislation and tell them that this is what this legislation is for. And then next thing you know, behind the scenes, one or two or three, or just any of us say, you know what, let's just bypass this legislation and do it for this instead of that. So that's what happened. The greater point is, and I believe it at this point is, I don't do untruths. When you say that you're taking credit for legislation that myself and my colleagues have been speaking about since February, and then March, and then April, and then we've all said we're not going to move forward with putting on legislation. Citizens are looking at us and they're saying, what's council doing? What's council doing? I understand, because we're putting legislation that the administration is not getting folks to administer. So that's when I said, specifically with my colleagues' support, that we have these legislation, the rental assistance being one of them, nonprofit, small business, Glen Housing Authority. We all had that in play, but we said we would not move forward until there was a program manager in place. That's it.
Thank you.
Just point of order on the city manager's role. The city manager has always been the chief administrative officer. So it is not a new governance structure or a new governance proposal to have the city manager administer.
Thank you. All right. With that. You have a question? Okay, I'm sorry. Before we move on to the city manager report, Vice President Church has a question.
Good evening, Mayor. Could you expound on the Thankful Tuesday, exactly where what's going to be given out, and will they be in the building or will they be in parking lot like they were last year? How will they be given the distribution be made?
Thank you, Council Vice President. Thankful Tuesday this year will be with the Post 275. So we'll be supporting our veterans in the Post 275 as our community nonprofit. So they won't even be on the grounds of the municipal center. We'll be at the post.
Why is that? I mean, normally we, provide the distribution for our citizens. Here on the property.
Now, we will have distribution for our citizens on the 22nd, tomorrow, and that noon until 4 p.m. We'll be distributing our Oh Give Thanks program for our citizens, and that actually went out in email today. Hopefully, everybody got a copy, and that's what the citizens are for. But I have created as of last year a Giving Tuesday. You recall last year we went to Leonardo Hills. And we supported our lower income senior citizens as well as Section 8 community. And we hosted food giveaway there, massive one, in fact, roughly about 1,500 pounds of food. Now, we're doing this with the veterans. So each year, I take care of the citizens in their Thanksgiving week. And then that next week, we focus on a piece of our community that we may not have built a good enough partnership or we want to expound on the partnership that we built. So this year, we're working with Post 275 and taking care of that.
Okay, so tomorrow the distribution will be in the parking lot? Or how was
Yes,
that?
ma'am, that's right.
And 11 to 4,
12.
12 to 4.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And then I got your message on the seniors. Please let me know what seniors we need to take things to, so that we can make sure that we pull some things apart from the distribution, because it is first come, first served. And I am aware that there are certain citizens who cannot drive here to pick up their items, and we'll be happy to deliver.
Thank you. So just, some housekeeping rules here. So historically, we've had, until we get our cable system fixed, we've had some, issues with, people online hearing. So if you just say Council President, then I'll say your name, so they'll know who's talking. So it just won't be just, one big sandwich of just different people talking. They'll know who's saying what, okay? All right. Thank you. Are there any more questions as relates to the mayor report before I move on? Hearing none, we'll move on to the city manager report. Acting chief. Acting city manager, Brian.
Good evening, everyone. City manager on October 18th. Looking at this report. They have some activities at MLK Park. Since that, they have actually started a foundation laying the rubber foundation for the kids to proceed with the park area. That was completed yesterday. Everything went well, so they moving toward the next step is on bringing the equipment for the playground for the kids. Initially, when I took over as acting city manager, I didn't want to go forward to go room as far as booking events, but after having staff meeting that morning with my administrative team, they showed that they were all pitching to help. So we are continuing booking events for the go room, which has been pretty much a success thus far, and had several events since I took over October 18th. And that's all we have record to the city manager report. All of the other upcoming events will be the next report. Moving forward to the public works report. Since October 17th, we have hired the director of public works in Charles Citizen. Stand up and thank you. Director Clinton has been on a mission since he got here, working extremely hard, throughout the city, being visible, making adjustments, bringing new ideas to the table, in reference to public work. And we've been out there together, working on several projects, including the street paving project, the 7th Street project, the King Site project, Hamlin Street project, and several other projects. So thankful to have him here, to work with him, and he'll get more information, you'll be seeing him more in the future. Regarding the chief of police report. We have one common factor in the chief of police report, you as leader, I could much detail in the report, but, we have explained those, activities going on at 7-Eleven, right across the street, where we had, an individual, stealing on people leaving the car, going to the store, jumping into the vehicle, and stealing the vehicle. Then our police, with the assistance of Prince George's County Police Department, have arrested an individual. For hopefully, we won't be having no debate, and we have no kind of issues. While stealing vehicles from 7-Eleven. That's all I have in my reports.
Thank you, Acting City Manager Bryant. I do have one request. A while ago, made the former city manager aware of the stop sign on, I believe it was Fisk and Glenarden, and Public Works did a great job of cutting back the myrtle trees and putting a stop sign in front of the myrtle so people will stop running the stop sign. But now they have an issue where on Fisk and Glenarden, there's only one crosswalk, so it's not a four-way crosswalk. There are a lot of children who cross there. If we can have Public Works go on Glenarden and Fisk Avenue and do the other two crosswalks, that would be great.
Noted, I'll get with Senator Reagan for that, make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Council President,
Councilwoman Young.
thank you, Council President. Real quick question, again, the overwhelming theme here is the project manager, any new?
Yeah.
On that front?
So a quick update with that, myself, treasurer, the human resources, we talked to, contract on last week. Actually, sent the proposal today, I didn't get a chance to review yet, I'll be reviewing that tomorrow with the treasurer and, HR person. He's very knowledgeable, the great thing about it, working, all the projects, several other municipalities in the area. So he's very knowledgeable and, he's willing to actually come on to the meeting. We do not, your questions and so forth, but I will send that information to the mayor, to you guys tomorrow, and reference to what he, sent to me today. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
Yeah, this is, and maybe you can ask these questions for how it works.
For the second, come up.
Yeah. Few questions. I didn't get quite a answer about trash, like I said. Trash not even picked out. How do you know from trash, before trash, you picked up on the daily?
Trash is picked up on the daily, post is that Monday, just this week, but daily, we do out to make sure trash we pick up.
Okay, because I know, if I'm out to Saturday, 4 days, I wasn't thinking that, I just went down on them today. It was there for 4 days, the issue part of lead elements, and I think you were out there. So what is your filter about it? He shouldn't be following up on that?
Yes, definitely been advocated. I think as I'm working to develop direction that I want our leadership team, particularly myself and the field supervisor, we're working out some of those critical details. And if that was the case that trash is missed on that today, I'll make sure we get that addressed. We won't have to.
So I guess my question is actually was being picked up before, why not being picked up now? Because again, I'm seeing trash in the better city of 200 days and it's not being picked up. But the quality, as a matter of fact, I actually thought Public Works today, right down my street, go to it and turn around, right back out, this whole piece of trash, pick it up and then they drove home. But there was other trash that wasn't picked up. They're not getting out of the truck no longer and walking the streets.
I'm sure if that was the case, that's definitely not what we discussed and what we'll get moving forward. So I'll certainly do everything I can to pay more attention to that particular issue. But I made it extremely clear that curbing and trash within the city is our number one priority. And that we should be on the regular first thing in the morning, as well as throughout the day, going else or something.
Okay, I think I'm getting a little bit confused here, because we brought on you as a director, doing a field supervisor. And the field supervisor is actually that out there in the field, is the field supervisor out in the field making sure it's getting done?
I don't necessarily like to go into specific details around personnel issues, but I know we are working through some challenges that we have with the direction that I want to take this particular team, particularly with the field supervisor. But I know we've had some discussions. I think we're getting close to being on the same page, and hopefully we'll continue to move forward to serve the city.
So I'm supposed to know, the field supervisor is not following up behind the employees to make sure the trash is being picked up or other things are being done out in the field. Because I feel another issue is that the alleys we just cut behind my houses and between Tyler and Benton Parkway, now I walk, there's so much trash in there.
Well, I know I worked with them when I came back this week, with Magnus, I believe, up to actually clear that area, and I actually went with the guy as they move trash to dump great trash in that particular area, and I have some pictures after the cleanup. If it is happening that way, we need to figure out monitoring is that there may be some additional time, but we thoroughly went through that particular area after it was cleared up.
No, it wasn't very laundry. It wasn't, this is not additional. I live there. I walked, first cut it. I told you I got some of the tires, but it's still a lot of tires back there. There's like trash, the debris, the weeds had grown over the trash and they didn't put it out. So it was not the proper way that it should be. I mean, again, we spent all this money to have that done, and I was expecting that to be cleaned up. Also, the club works on water and get all those stuff from the bushes, because again, it's one thing to cut it and leave the bushes there and go back again and be the same way it works before. So I know that trash has been there for a while. It's not new trash, but old trash has not been picked up yet. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, because there are enough people. I think it's probably worth it. Now, the bushes are gone, they can clean this up and get it cleaned up and maintain it. And that's what the issue is going to be, maintaining it, make sure it doesn't come back to the state it was in before.
Yes,
So,
sir.
we need a lot of trash down there. Also, what is going on at the corner of Grant and Tyler? Have they come out and look at that?
Yeah, we submitted the request with DeFi. DeFi originally said they're going to take in February 2024 to actually replace that damaged drain. However, I did see that they come out. I do have a work order number. I believe I provided that information. It's not required when I wrote it. I'll make sure you have it. And you know that DeFi is aware of it. And I followed up with making sure that they're addressing that concern. But it is the responsibility of DeFi, considering the damage that was done there to fix that particular storm.
And I guess I'm there's the urgency of this might fall in there.
From the other municipality that it came from, it was definitely pulling key in that area, and not to pass it up, but I'll continue to press the urgency. The temporary measures that we have done definitely make it more secure and it allows for proper drain. However, I totally agree with you that we probably need to get that rectified immediately.
I guess my main issue is I recommend trash in the streets, trash not being picked up. You know, that should not have never solved. I don't know how I think it's one of those solved. You know, the guy not trash that it should be. Again, I mean, there's a lot in front of my house, broken bottle, broken glass, and it's still there. I'll keep it myself. Because obviously they go by it now 4 times since it's been down there for a couple of days. I wasn't going to pick it up. I don't want to ride over it. So either something needs to change down there because it was getting picked up before. I didn't have this issue. So I'm understanding why now there's trash, and it's not just in my water, it's in other water also. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at. I'm not sure, we involve the management of the department, but if we're paying you and the supervisor, somebody should be in the trash can do that.
Yes, sir, I totally agree, definitely look into that, so.
That's it, that's it. Thank you.
Mayor, elect the city manager, real quick.
One second, so, I'm gonna go to, thank you. Councilman Harrison first, and then I'll come back to you as the acting city manager.
And I just wanted to say that I had a citizen that also had the same concern, that she's in the process of sending me an email on the streets and she's in the trash and whatnot.
Please do.
Acting chief, skip discretion.
Yes,
Acting city manager, Bryant.
yes, as I was saying earlier, Mr. Council, here in Harrison, as acting city manager, you have these concerns and so forth, make sure that I'm aware of it, that we can, I get with a new director, so we can address these issues, he's getting into place and get things together, so he's getting acclimated, he's learning what's going on and stuff, he's been out there, I'm working with him, but including the citizens, any issues and concerns, most definitely bring it to our attention, to be transparent and make sure we're doing what we need to do. We need to know what's going on. You guys, eyes and ears out there, we'll make sure we get it and, we'll make sure we address it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to answer the question.
Okay, Councilman Harry.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Chief, for actually finishing the process on the Medway Park and get it installed. It's looking really great. I do appreciate you stepping in as the city manager. I do want to say this to clarify this up for citizens, because statements have been made by the mayor about you doing something in violation of the charter when it comes down to direction. And I just want citizens to know that the charter was changed a while back to put the responsibility of the city manager under the mayor and council. Now, it's been constantly been put out here, and the mayor disseminated this information from an old charter that has not been revised and put out there in public that the city manager, the acting city manager is doing something illegal or something incorrect in violation of the charter, and that's completely untrue. He is well within the rights to do what he's doing based on the charter that the charter that has been passed, CRO 1 and CRO 2. So appreciate you for hanging in there, because it looks like it's not accurate, they're false. He's been working diligently in 2 positions, chief and city manager, and getting things done. So I appreciate you doing that. I know you got the new ad out for the city manager in compliance with what we passed in CRO 1. So appreciate you doing that and taking care of all those other things too.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't want to hold Mr. Simpson up, but welcome to the city of Glenarden. I'm sure you'll do well in working with acting city manager Brian and getting things done. So you can go ahead. Thank you. Okay. Council Fareed.
Yeah, I wanted to add some additional comments on what Mr. Harris said in regards to the meeting during that role. The change was made that was actually putting it back to what it was before the previous change, and the structure in which the city manager and previously the town manager reports both the council and the mayor is the structure that has been the exception of the city of
Thank you, Councilman Fareed, Councilwoman Fareed. To avoid any more tongue ties, Chief Regis Bryant is our acting city manager until we have a permanent city manager. From now on, I'm just going to refer to him as Chief Bryant. So, thank you. Moving on. A very brief status report. Treasurer Stewart.
This is the treasurer's report. I will give you highlights as the.
Speak to the mic, please.
As a president, advised. Okay, so for September 30th, 2022 revenues were $3,241,921. While expenses to that time was $1,302,672, giving us a surplus or revenue exceeding expenditures by $1,939,304. For September 2022, we had real property tax installment received of $135,000. Subsequent review, which would have been in October, we had collected $1,393,540. For the general fund, we had collected local taxes of $846,663. License and permit was $40,825. State grant was $18,747. And other financial sources brought in $45,729. During September, for personal property taxes, we're collecting $20,000. However, personal property tax billing for that period was $15,250. Subsequent receipt of collection was $528. And as I said in the report, I was definitely looking into all of the areas there. They're all collecting these small sums. But we should have been collecting more. So I'm following out with the Maryland Department of Taxation to see why our businesses are not certifying their assets on time. But you can see that the graph that I have, these are the operations of the municipality. And you can go to the law. Cash update for the city. As of October 31st, 2022, the main operating account had $11,962,607. Forbearance account had $7,078. Gold account had $130,678. Block grant had $4,198. And the PPG grant had $329,365. Homestead credit cap. Just to give you an idea what that is, it's whenever Prince George's and the state assesses their property. If they go with that is more than 10% or more than 5% of your previous assessment. If you're Glenarden will cap at 5%, you will not charge more than 5%. We're trying to hold them there. The state and the county, their percent is 10%. But if we go up to 11 or 12%, they will go back to 10%, but the rest of it, then will go 5%. So we won't charge more than 5% of your vote. The 2024 tax differential, I've already entered those, and we're looking good. Now, the tax differential it's a comparison between the different services that the city provides and what Prince George's and the state provide. So we try to determine how much we can charge for each of these different services. For the special events, these are numbers that I have accumulated up to September 2020. So far, the National Night Club, they have gotten donations of $2,000, 2010. They spent $6,450. Leaving them with $4,443. Well, we had budgeted for $9,075. So they actually stayed within budget by $4,632. The Back to School program headed by the mayor and thankful to the council that provided $1,000. We got $500 from. So that 600 that you see there is the donation that we received. And spent $1,581. And our budget shows that we were still within budget by $19. We Glen Arden Day celebration. We have collected so far, and remember, this is September, $2,200. We have spent $23,340, which put us at spending, net spending of $21,140. We have budgeted $35,000. We still have more bills that are coming, that were actually coming in October. So for the October report, you get a more complete picture of what's happening with, especially the going on with the program. But at that point, we had $13,000. And that things.
And I just want to point out that at the end of Glen Arden Day, even though that it's not reflected here, the chairperson of that committee, Councilman Herring, actually did provide a comprehensive budget of what was spent. And we, the council, does know every dime that where it went, who got the $25 gift cards, and made sure that if vendors were supposed to pay, that they paid. And just want to highlight that. And I thought Councilman Hairston, Councilman Herring, and Councilwoman DeYoung did an awesome job with Glen Arden Day. So thank you.
And if I may say one more thing, I would like to thank you, Councilman Herring, for that report that you sent. It helped to reconcile the numbers that I have. And I was told from the Russell. So that's why I agree.
Thank you. Great leadership, Councilman Herring. Any questions for the treasurer? On treasurer's report? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to legislation. We have 11, so we'll try to get through these as quickly as possible. First up is O-0-2023, an ordinance to adopt the procedures for residential parking permit guidelines. Are you ready, Council Clerk? Or okay. 1 second. I will start. To Council Clerk. So I'll read it and then I'll bring it to the floor for votes. And for those online, share it. second. We'll do that. There we go. I think this will be better. Okay. Ordinance O dash 02 dash 2023, sponsor James A. Herring, councilman, co-sponsor none. Public hearing was held on October 11th and November 15th, 2022. I'm sorry?
Councilwoman Fareed, I believe was supposed to myself. For the residential.
Okay, all right, so we can add Councilwoman Fareed as a co-sponsor to this.
Mhm.
Thank you, I remember that, sorry. Date of introduction was October 17th was the first reading, second reading was today. November 21st, 2022. An ordinance to adopt the procedures for residential parking permit guidelines. Whereas in 1995, a residential parking permit program was enacted by the city council by ordinance 10-94 and ordinance 09-95, copies of which are attached. And whereas the primary purpose of the RPP program was to provide relief for residents who were having parking problems from non-residents, and whereas ordinance 09-95 was enacted, but no procedures or guidelines were implemented to show qualification requirements, and whereas the city needs to have in place procedures and guidelines to apply for a parking permit in the designated areas, and now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 21st day of November 2022, as follows. That the attached procedures and residential parking permit guidelines be accepted. Be it further resolved and ordained by the City Council of Glenarden that this ordinance is and shall become effective 20 days after its adoption or upon passage by the council over the mayor's veto, whichever is later. Do I have a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote? Is there a second?
Second.
Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Young,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison,
Yes.
Councilmember Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones?
Yes.
She said yes.
Council President Ferguson, Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Next up is, I had it. I had a discussion with Councilmember Herring before this meeting. So, the ordinance is O-03-2023. I'm going to make a motion that we, table this until December the 5th. Reason being, Councilman Herring and I want to find common ground. We have citizens who are having troubles parking, and Councilman Herring is trying to fix that, but we also have citizens who, as a result of this legislation, will not be able to park their work vehicle at their homes, and it's their livelihood. So we're trying to find common ground of how we could help the citizens who are being pushed out by the parking and not put further pressure on those who actually drive their work vehicles home. So we'll, I'm motion to table this. I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? We don't. Do we have to vote to think? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll table this into December the 5th. This yours. Thank you. All right, next up is R 10/2023, a resolution awarding the purchase of a security system for the city hall to Verkada and granting the council president or mayor the authority to enter into a monitoring agreement. Oh, that's it. Council Clerk.
Yes. Whereas the existing security camera system in City Hall and monitoring equipment are not up to modern standards and are in disrepair. And whereas illegal dumping and loitering often occur at City Hall, the new security camera system will help deter and apprehend future offenders. The new security camera system software will help the city to standardize on a single security system being used and give access to the police department. And whereas upon installation, the city will install signage letting offenders know they are under video surveillance for their safety and will also serve as another deterrent to unwanted behavior. And whereas under section 818 of the city charter requires the city engage in a competitive bidding process for the procurement of goods and services with estimated costs exceeding $6,000. And whereas the administration solicited 3 bids for the security camera system upgrades and desires to award a contract to the most responsive. And whereas both administration and the police department analyzing the proposals, a conclusion was drawn that consensus provided the best price value and the most responsive proposal for the camera system. Whereas funding is available for the purchase in the FY 23 budget under account number 7612.30.80.10. Now therefore be it resolved that the city manager is hereby authorized to issue a purchase order for $30,374.73 to Consensus for the purchase of a new security system at the municipal center.
I have a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
oh, Joan, just second by Jones.
yes.
The first motion was Councilwoman Guillaume, second by Councilwoman Jones. Any discussion? Final discussion?
Yes.
Okay, Councilman Harris.
I think this is okay, but I think you really, that's the camera that we have right now, like 3 years old, $30,000 is a lot of money to put into some cameras when we're not sure the cameras that we have right now are not a farm for what we need. We're looking at trying to adjust salaries, we're looking at trying to, get a salary study out here, we don't know what we're gonna do with that. I think $30,000 could go toward that if we need it, but right now, I think you got cameras in the building. We need to assess what they are, because I haven't seen an assessment on those cameras yet. Has an assessment been done? Yeah, we're ready to spend $30,000 and we haven't even looked at the functionality of those cameras. The city, what they can do, I know when they were put in, we had face recognition, all that other stuff. I mean, I was out there the other day and go on it, actually pick up somebody's picture and put up my old video. So I think spend this kind of money on the camera system when we may not need it, just to do something new. And when we have obligations and other things to look at, I think we need to take a look at this completely and see if it's something that we really need to spend $30,000. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Unfortunately, we cannot table because we already motioned to vote. If you wanted a motion to table it, it should have come before the motion to vote, right?
No, you haven't come to the table, you just made a motion in a second to bring it to the table.
Okay,
So now, if I'm on the table, I make a motion to table it, that's on the table now for a vote.
okay. So in a discussion phase now,
Well, we're just discussing, we haven't even taken a vote yet, now if we have taken a vote, then it's different.
okay,
We just brought it to the table.
so it's a, your motion at the table.
I'm making a motion today.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you a second.
Second by Councilwoman Guillaume. Okay. So I propose, oh, no, well, Councilman Herring proposed this. Sorry. Time for my children to go to bed. Okay, so let's vote on a motion to table. I guess we can structure this because, acting manager, Bryant, I know that, Lieutenant Robinson worked on this, correct? So if we could, if, you know, you can sit with Councilman Herring or, you know, communicate with the council, between now and December 5th. Where we can address some of the concerns, if this passes, it may not pass, but if it does pass, if we can use that time to address it, and then just like the one we tabled before, we could bring this back on December 5th. So with that, Council Clerk, could you run the vote to table it to December 5th?
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yeah.
Councilman Young,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harris.
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
No.
no. Vice President Ferguson
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
No.
So carries.
All right, well, we'll table it to December 5th and look forward to communicating with you to how we can address some of the concerns. All right. Next up. Is R-11-2023, a resolution to draft and award a contract to Can Construction Inc. for snow and ice control services. Madam Clerk?
Whereas the city wishes to hire an independent contractor to provide snow removal and ice control for the city of Glen Arden, can. Whereas a request for proposal for snow removal has been put out to bid pursuant to section 818C of the charter, and. Whereas the council has recognized and determined a basis to approve a snow and ice control contract with the winter season ahead, and. Whereas in accordance with charter section 819 and section 823, the city administration recommends engaging in a snow removal and ice contract with Hanbury Construction Inc., who has demonstrated to be the most responsible bidder responding. The copy of the bid sheet is attached here too as exhibit A, and. Whereas city administration recommends entering into a 1-year contract period beginning December 2022, with Canray Construction Team, as well as assess the feasibility of the city of Glen Arden's resources to commit to performing snow and ice control duties within city limits, following a public hearing held in accordance with charter section 308. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glen Arden, Maryland, sitting in regular session on November 1st, 2022. 1, that a contract with snow and ice control services be legally drafted by the administration and awarded to Canray Construction. 2, that the mayor or council president be and is hereby authorized to sign a contract for snow removal and ice control services with Canray Construction. And number 3, that the contract services shall be paid from the public works budget, snow removal and landscaping line item 10.60.60.7240.
Thank you. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Second, any discussion? So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Councilman Harry?
Oh, I just want to thank the chief for, updating us on the soft, situation, so we're helpful for it.
Yes, so we sent out a letter, and the executive assistant sent a card out to him, just to make sure that we're on the same page or all.
All right, thanks for that.
And thank you for the input on that, we get that done.
You are.
I do have a question for. I think that'll have to be in closed session. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was some late information that came through today, that is not appropriate to discuss in open session. So I am going to, make a motion that we table this until we can discuss it, to make sure that we make the right decision, with this company. So I'll make a motion to table this, to December 5th till we can dig a little bit further. Do I have a second?
Second.
Council Clerk?
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dion,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison,
Yes.
Councilmember Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yeah,
and Council President Travis.
Yes.
Both carry 7-0.
Thank you. See, it was 11, but we're moving pretty quickly. Next up. R-12-2023, a resolution to establish a special fund known as the Glenarden Community Resilience Hardship Fund to reduce the impact of economic hardship arising from the pandemic caused by the coronavirus in the city of Glenarden. Council Clerk?
Whereas on March 11, 2021, the federal government enacted public law 117-2, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 for ARPA, to provide additional relief to address the continued impact of the coronavirus disease pandemic on the economy, public health, state and local government, individuals and businesses. And whereas President Joe Biden signed a $1.9 trillion ARPA to aid public health and economic recovery for the COVID pandemic. And whereas the ARPA funds are being distributed to states who are then distributing funds to municipalities. And whereas the city of Glenarden has accepted a one-time option to use ARPA funds as lost revenue. And whereas the option allows for more flexibility when it comes to addressing these needs. And whereas due to numerous mitigation measures recommended by the federal government and state authorities and subsequently imposed by the city of Glenarden, small businesses and community nonprofit organizations continue to suffer from the economic hardship of various times. And whereas the desire of the mayor and city council to further ameliorate these economic hardships to extend possible and supplemental ARPA with other funds available in the city's general fund. And whereas pursuant to subsection 602A 26 of the charter of the city of Glenarden, city council has the authority to extend federal and state funds for any public purpose. And whereas pursuant with subsection 602A5 of the charter of the city, the Glenarden council has the authority to appropriate municipal funds for any purpose within the powers of the council. Now, therefore, be resolved and approved by the Glenarden City Council, sitting in regular session on the 21st day of November 2022 as follows. Number one, the city directs the treasurer to establish a line item for the FY 23 budget to be referred as Community Resilience Hardship Fund. Two, the Community Resilience Hardship Fund shall be funded by the appropriation of $400,000 from the ARPA. Three, prior to the expenditure of the funds from the Community Resilience Hardship Fund, specific criteria and guidelines such as expenditures will be established and approved by the city council to assist the city of Glenarden small businesses and community-based nonprofit organizations. And four, the city manager, as with the assistance of the treasurer, shall ensure that all expenditures from the Community Resilience Hardship Fund be copied.
Thank you, Council Clerk. I just want to go back up and say that the sponsor for this legislation is Councilwoman Guillaume, co-sponsor Vice President Ferguson, and Councilwoman Fareed. With that, is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So move.
Second.
So I'm going to go with Councilman Herring as the first, and Councilwoman Fareed as the second. Any discussion?
Yeah.
No discussion. Councilwoman Guillaume?
So the amount was changed from, well, it was supposed to be changed to 100, I believe. Instead of 400. I believe we had discussed that for the.
The maximum budget line is $200,000.
Yeah, the maximum of the budget is 400. So we had said for the next. Resolution, we didn't mention yet that we already have a certain amount being given for the citizens, and then there's a certain amount that we're gonna be giving to this one for the small business and for the small business and nonprofit. So.
Okay,
and that
so
was during the work session. and then-
that's fine. So with that, modification to reduce it from 400 to 100.
100, and if there's one left
Thousand.
over, yes, after ARPA, there's more money left over.
Then we can replenish it. Okay,
Right.
all right. Any further discussion? Okay, Council Clerk to vote with the amendment to reduce it from 400,000 to 100,000.
Oh,
Councilman Fareed.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
yes,
Councilman Harrison.
Yes.
Councilman Herring.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
take it.
She did, I said. Council Vice President Ferguson
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carried 7-0.
Good, good.
Give me a minute.
All right. Next up is R dash 13-2023. A resolution to establish a special fund known as the Glenarden Good Samaritan Hardship Fund to reduce the impact of economic hardship arising from the pandemic caused by the coronavirus in the city of Glenarden. And I'll bring that up for the screen for everyone who's online. 14. 13. This was also sponsored by Councilwoman Guillaume and co-sponsored by Councilman Jones, Vice President Ferguson, Councilwoman Fareed. Council Clerk, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Whereas on March 11, 2021, the federal government enacted public law 117-2, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, or ARPA, to provide additional relief to address the continuing impact of coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic on the economy, public health, state local government, individuals, and businesses in payment. Whereas President Joe Biden signed a $1.9 trillion order to aid public health and economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the ARPA funds are being distributed to states and who are distributing the funds to municipalities. And whereas the city of Glenarden has accepted a one-time option to use ARPA funds as lost revenue. And whereas the option allows for more flexibility when it comes to addressing city needs. And whereas due to numerous mitigating measures recommended by the federal and state authorities and subsequently imposed by the state and city of Glenarden residents continue to suffer from the economic hardships of various kinds. Whereas the desire of the mayor and city council to further ameliorate these economic hardships to the extent possible and to supplement ARPA funds with other funds available to the general fund. Whereas pursuant with subsection 602A, 26 charter of the charter of the city, the Glenarden City Council has the authority to spend federal state funds for any public purpose. And whereas pursuant to subsection 602A5 of the charter of the city, the Glenarden City Council has the authority to appropriate municipal funds for any purpose within the powers of the council. Now, be it therefore resolved and approved by the Glenarden Council in regular session on the 21st day of November 2022 as follows. The council directs the treasurer to establish a line item in the FY 23 budget to be referred to as Good Samaritan Hardship Fund. 2. The Good Samaritan Hardship Fund shall be funded by an appropriation of at least $250,000 from the ARPA fund. 3. Prior to the expenditure of the fund from the Good Samaritan Hardship Fund, specific criteria and guidelines for such expenditures will be established and approved by the city council to assist the city of Glenarden residents with their rent, mortgage, utility, grocery, and subscription. The city manager, with the assistance of the treasurer, shall ensure that all expenditures from the Good Samaritan Hardship Fund are properly documented.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote? So moved by Vice President Ferguson. Do I have a second? Second by Councilwoman Fareed. Discussion. Just one edit. So we previously discussed that the total pot was for 400, so we decreased the first one to 100, and we can increase this one to 300 to balance out that 400 we have allotted for the for this year.
To change the order.
So if there's no further discussion, we'll move forward to vote with the one edit to this is to increase it from $250,000 to $300,000.
Councilman Fareed?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Young?
Yes.
Councilman Harrison?
Yes.
Councilman Herring?
Yes.
Councilwoman Young?
yes,
She said yes.
Vice President Ferguson?
Yes.
And Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Will carry 7-0.
Great. All right. Yes, getting there. Next up. R-14-2023. A resolution to establish a grant program for the City of Glenarden Housing Authority. And I'll bring that up. So let's just go away. All right, Council Clerk.
Whereas President Joe Biden signed the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Fund to aid public health and economic recovery for COVID-19 pandemic. whereas the ARPA funds are being distributed to the states and then distributed. Then distributing the funds to the municipalities, and whereas the city of Glenarden has accepted a one-time option with ARPA funds as lost revenue, and whereas the option allows for more flexibility when it comes to addressing city needs, and whereas ARPA funds can be used to assist nonprofit organizations, nonprofit associations, and whereas the Glenarden Housing Authority is considered nonprofit. Now therefore be it resolved by the city of Glenarden, City Council of Glenarden, now sitting in a regular session, this 21st day of November, 2022 as follows. One, that the city of Glenarden establishes a grant program for the city of Glenarden Housing Authority. Two, that the Glenarden Housing Authority can apply for a grant based on criteria and qualifications set down by the mayor and city council. Three, the maximum amount of the grant will be $60,000. Four, that $60,000 can be set aside from the ARPA fund to fund the program.
Thank you. And I want to point out that this resolution was introduced, sponsored by Councilman James Herron, Councilman Maurice Hairston, and Councilwoman Guillaume. So with that, is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Ferguson, second. Second by Councilman Hairston. Any discussion? All right, Council Clerk?
Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison. Yes. Councilmember Henry.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson.
Yes.
And President Curtis.
Yes.
Both carried 7-0.
Okay. We'll switch some things around here and skip to Resolution R-16-2023. A resolution to declare a city police vehicle as surplus and approve the sale of the vehicle to the town of Marlow Heights. Okay, 1 second. I'll bring that up. Yes, R-16-2023, a resolution to declare a city police vehicle as surplus, approve the sale of the vehicle to the town of Marlow Heights. Are you ready? All right.
This is sponsored by President Curtis at the request of the administration. Whereas a 2009 Chevy Impala city police vehicle indicated on the VIN number 2GWS57N99114277 attached here to it, Exhibit A, the police vehicle has exceeded its useful life. Whereas pursuant to section 828 of the city charter, the mayor, with the consent of the council, may declare an unusable, obsolete, or outmoded personal property or equipment belonging to the city as surplus property, provided that such an item are placed on the city's periodic surplus list posted in the municipal center and circulated throughout the city with a monthly city meeting notice, which identifies the means of acquisition to be by GA and former officers for the specified officer to do. And whereas all revenues collected from the sale of surplus vehicle will be deposited with the treasury. Whereas the mayor deems the police vehicle to be unstable, obsolete, and outmoded, have little value and is no longer required for public purpose, and so should be declared as surplus, and the council approves of said determination. And whereas the town of Marlow Heights has offered in a written request to obtain one of the city's unusable, obsolete, for automotive, personal vehicles, property vehicles. And the council unanimously has decided to offer these vehicles at the cost of $100 to be paid in cash, which sum shall be credited to the budget line item 5411-10-10-10 miscellaneous revenue. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the city by the council of the city of Leonard, the sitting in regular session on the 24th day of November 2022 has determined that one, the attached city owned vehicle is unusable, obsolete, and outmoded, and is of little or no value, and is no longer needed for public purpose as declared, and is so declared surplus.
Listen, all right, is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote? So moved by Guillaume, Councilwoman Guillaume, second. Second by Councilman Harrison, discussion.
Yes, Mr. President. Is there somewhere we need to put a number in here so that it's for the record?
It's on there.
Is it in there? Oh,
Yeah, they can put the title on it.
okay, so it's right in there.
Mhm.
Any other? Any other discussion?
Get her down.
Okay, all right, Council Clerk.
Councilwoman Dion,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Reed,
Yeah.
Councilmember Harrison.
Yes.
Councilmember Harry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carried 7-0.
All right. Resolution R-17-2023. A resolution authorizing catering services for the 2022 city Christmas party. Bring that up.
Resolution is sponsored by Angela E. Ferguson, Councilwoman, co-sponsored by Kathleen J. Young, Councilwoman. Whereas the city council is promoting special events for the community, and whereas the city council would like to have the 2022 city Christmas party for the citizens of the community on December 17th, 2022, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And whereas the council would like to have the 2022 city Christmas party event catered, and whereas funds have been allotted in the fiscal year budget, 2023 budget, on the special event budget line item, and that includes Christmas parties of the community. Community event. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the city council of Glenard, Maryland, sitting in regular session on the 21st day of November 2022, as follows: that Ricky T.
Arroyo.
Montgomery, he will provide catering services for the city of Glenard Christmas party per attachment invoice identifying the service. 2, the cost of the catering services is $7,300 and shall be paid from budget line item 10-30-10-8647 legislative office special event. This resolution shall be effective immediately upon adoption.
Is there a motion to bring this to the table? Thank you. Second, any discussion? Hearing none, Council Clerk.
Councilman Reed.
Yeah.
Councilman Young.
Yeah.
Yes.
Councilmember Harry.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes,
and President Curry.
Yes.
Vote carries 7-0.
All right, we're almost done. Bear with, there's two more, and then we'll head on to the citizens' comments. So now we're getting to resolution R-15, R-15-2023, a resolution to censor Mayor Christina A. Cross. So before we get into the reading of that resolution, I do want to provide context of how we got here. So I prepared a statement, I'll read the statement, then I'll go on to the censure, okay? And that's just to provide citizens with an outlook of, we just gonna pop up for censure. This is context of how we got here. So as Glenarden moves forward, the city council is excited about the future. This local government's legislative and administrative branches have worked together to achieve the best for our city. But sadly, the executive branch has shown little to no interest in working for the common goal of a greater Glenarden. As president of Glenarden City Council, my disappointment, along with my colleagues, is profound. The council does not take lightly its decision to censor the mayor. Communicating and collaborating with the mayor has been our top priority. The council had an executive meeting with the mayor, hoping to get on the same page and build strategies to work better together. As council president, I have spent an enormous amount of time in the mayor's office and on the phone seeking common ground and trying to understand any initiatives the mayor's office had for Glenarden. Regrettably, the mayor was consistently contentious and lacked interest in advancing our city. Regrettably, the mayor's entire tenure has been spent avoiding real issues and stopping progress. For example, on one visit, I spoke with the mayor about providing support to the city manager to help implement legislation passed to help our citizens. Legislation sort of like what we passed today in relief of the Poverty Relief Fund, helping our HOAs and helping our Glenarden Housing Authority, things like that. In that conversation, the mayor admitted that her priorities were elsewhere, making work life difficult for the city manager. In place of mentoring and helping the newly hired capable manager settle into the position, the mayor's goal was to pressure the individual to leave the job. She displayed more interest in a personal vendetta to remove the city manager without cause. Her sole focus was finding a way to get rid of the manager, completely ignoring the real issues and no concern with leaving them unresolved. Mainly due to the mayor creating a hostile work environment, the city manager opted to resign, effective immediately, which is how we got to acting city manager. Right. There have been multiple opportunities to censor the mayor. But the council held off in hopes of uniting and working better together, putting our citizens first. It was an idea birthed in the Charter Review Committee that sought to give the seat of the mayor governing authority, which is not currently in that seat, by absorbing the seat into the council, having that seat of mayor lead the council in future years, starting in 2025. It was an idea that the committee wanted to share with the citizens of Glenarden to solicit feedback and hear of other ideas that citizens may have had that were better. However, the mayor ruined that opportunity for our citizens. She intentionally lied to our citizens, neighboring mayors, and communities, and brought a news broadcaster to the city bolstered by negativity. It was a lie that the council circumvented the will of our voters to remove the mayor from office that never happened. It was a lie. She communicated to the NAACP to cast a negative light on such a great city and dedicated council. The mayor made a decision to speak an untruth when she stated that she did not know the mayor's seat would have governing authority. For the record, I personally explained this to the mayor in detail. Afterwards, I asked the chairman of the Charter Review Committee to speak with the mayor to reiterate and answer any questions the mayor may have had. The chairwoman made it clear what giving the seat of mayor's governing authority would mean. It was after everything was explained to the mayor that she started her campaign of lies and spewing negative light on the city of Glenarden. In this current political climate of deliberate and blatant inaccuracies, a blueprint has been established for some politicians quickly and loudly discharging lies to avoid truths and confuse the issues. It is very unfortunate that the mayor has decided to adopt this blueprint and has banked on blind loyalty from our citizens and others. However, we are fortunate to have citizens who think for themselves and will research to seek the truth and know the truth. We have a lot of good work to do in this city. We do not have time to waste on the mayor's antics of lies and confusion. The council will push forth this censor, move on, and not waste any more time responding to such antics. Included in the censor is a response to the NAACP and others to restore the truth of what is happening in this great city. With that, I will move to read the censor. I'm sorry.
Motion.
I will stop sharing the screen.
Motion.
I'm gonna read the first, then go to motions. I'll just read it. R-15-2023, introduced and sponsored by Council President Derek Curtis, Council Vice President Angela D. Ferguson, Councilmember Erica L. Fareed, Councilmember Kathleen J. Guillaume, Councilmember Maurice A. Hairston, Councilmember James A. Herron, Councilmember Robin F. Jones. It was introduced on November 7th. Public hearing was held on November 15th. And it is being read in this regular session, November 21st, 2022. Okay, sorry, I will share for the citizens online. 1 second. Okay. All right. This is for citizen online. A resolution sent to the mayor, Katrina A. Cross. Whereas the city of Glenarden has an elected council and elected mayor, and whereas Mayor Cross has engaged in activities on social media and other forums which constitutes conduct unbecoming of an elected official. And whereas such activities include, but are not limited to, making untrue, slanderous, libelous, disparaging, and demeaning comments about other elected officials of the city or city staff. And whereas engaging in this conduct not only brings the city in disrepute, it incites the masses, endangers the lives and livelihood of elected officials of the city or city staff, and directly affects the city's ability to secure grants from the state of Maryland, which provide much needed services to the citizens of Glenarden. And whereas Mayor Cross has violated section 818 of the charter and code of the city of Glenarden in accepting a $30,000 grant from the National Fitness Campaign for a fitness court with the estimated value of $142,350, which upon discovery had to be canceled and returned. Whereas Mayor Cross has violated section 404, powers and duties generally, D and E of the charter and code of the city of Glenarden, and accepting donations without proper considerations and documentation for the city's records, and refuses to provide appropriate records when requested by the city council. And whereas Mayor Cross has violated section 103-1 of the code of the city of Glenarden and allowing vendors to participate in events without proper payments of fees or proper approval of waivers of said fees. And whereas, as elected officials, we are expected to lead by example, and expectations are set forth in the city of Glenarden's personnel manual, sorry. And whereas the council has observed several acts which it deems to be in violation of the following section of Glenarden's personnel manual. Chapter 13, Equal Employment Opportunity. The city prohibits any form of retaliation against any employee for filing a bona fide complaint under this policy. Also, Chapter 16, Workplace Safety. Workplace violence prevention, threats, threatening language, or any other acts of aggression or violence made towards or by an employee will not be tolerated. A threat may include any verbal or physical harassment or abuse, attempts to intimidate others, menacing gestures, bullying, stalking, or any hostile, aggressive, and or destructive actions taken for the purpose of intimidation. So section 4, workplace bullying, which I won't highlight every one of these, but the bullet points are verbal bullying, profanity, slandering, ridiculing and maligning a person of his or her family, persistent name calling that is hurtful, insulting, or humiliating, using a person as a butt of jokes, abusive or offensive remarks, exclusion, socially and physically excluding or disregarding a person in the work-related activities. In addition, the following examples may constitute or contribute to evidence of bullying in the workplace: persistent singling out of one person, shouting or raising your voice at an employee in public or in private, public communication in any form, constant criticism on matters unrelated or minimally related to the person's job performance or description, repeatedly accusing someone of errors that cannot be documented, spreading rumors and gossip regarding employees, manipulating the ability of someone to do his or her job, whether it be overloading, underloading, withholding information, assigning meaningless tasks, setting deadlines that cannot be met, giving deliberate, ambiguous instructions. Also, section 19, the harassment policy. It is the policy of the city that all employees are entitled to work atmosphere free from all forms of discrimination, including sexual and other types of harassment. The city expressly prohibits any form of unlawful employee harassment based on age, race, color, creed, religion, national origin, ancestry, disability, marital status, sex, sexual orientation, pregnancy, or other protected status for any reasons prohibited by these regulations. Improper interference with the ability of the city employees to perform their expected job duties is not tolerated. It is the city's policy to take affirmative action to prevent such unwanted contact from occurring and to deal with all such reported incidents in a fair, impartial, and prompt manner. Each member of management is responsible for creating an atmosphere free of discrimination and harassment, sexual or otherwise. In addition, employees are responsible for respecting the rights of their coworkers. And whereas the council has received complaints which demonstrates a pattern of behavior which amounts to abuse of power, and whereas Mayor Cross has demonstrated unbecoming behavior of an elected official by inappropriate, disrespectful, demeaning speech in the hearing of employees, and whereas this censure serves as a formal condemnation by the elected body of one of its members. Whereas this censure serves as a reprimand with the purpose of reforming the individual to prevent further misconduct. Whereas the censure serves notice that the individual's peers find such conduct inappropriate and against the best interests of the city of Glenarden. And whereas it is the right and responsibility of the council as a legislative branch to check the exercise of authority of the administrative branch to the best interests of employees and residents of the city of Glenarden and the executive branch. Now, will be resolved, the city council of Glenarden, of the city of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 21st day of November 2022, that the mayor is requested to cease and desist any actions against employees that are in violation of the city of Glenarden's personnel manual, and to act in good faith in dealing with employees who are essential to the daily operations and prosperity of the city of Glenarden, and to cease and desist spreading untruths about the city's elected officials and comply with the city's charter and code. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote? Is there a second?
Second.
Any final discussion? Hearing Council Clerk.
Councilwoman Berry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Young,
Pass.
Councilmember Harrison,
Yes.
Councilmember Aaron,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
yes,
Council Vice President Burger,
Yes.
and Council President Burger.
Pass. Go back to Councilwoman Guillaume, please.
Councilwoman Young,
Thank you, Council Clerk, and thank you, colleagues. Thank you. So, first and foremost, I want to say a few words. I want to, if I may, Council President.
Yes.
I would like to, not that I knew the name, but I don't even imagine how it felt to be in your shoes. So I would like to offer my apologies and gratitude to my colleague who specifically sit on the Charter Review Committee. You all just tried to do what was right, which is review a charter. And you had the intentions without full council in the meeting. It was you guys that took the time out of your day to do this, and you guys scheduled the meeting to get feedback from the public, only to walk into what I could imagine as the most hostile environment created by untruth and lies. And so I would like to just tell you all, thank you for the story that you have to go through, and just know that it doesn't go unnoticed. Before I go, I do want to ask citizens who are in this space and even on call, have any of you received a letter or communication from Linda Thornton Thomas? No. Council, anybody?
No.
I'm looking at it. So no one has received this letter from Linda Thornton Thomas. And that's interesting because Linda Thornton Thomas sent a letter to the Glenarden City Council and the Glenarden citizens. Yet, no one received this letter. But coincidentally, and we can look at the mayor's report, page 2 of her report, that you all should have, but since you all here, it's a matter of record. Go on page 2 of the mayor's report, section B. and you see that the mayor meets with Linda Thornton Thomas monthly. And out of nowhere, this letter that nobody received, I asked everybody here online and in person. Nobody received this letter from Ms. Linda Thornton Thomas that's addressed to us, meaning council and the citizens, the 6,000 plus citizens of Glenarden. But the only person that received this letter is the mayor. Let me be very clear, it was addressed to the council and the residents. And the address that was provided was 8600 Glenarden Parkway. But the mayor is the only person that received this letter, and miraculously, or should I say coincidentally, it appears online by the mayor. Oh, and where did Linda Thornton Thomas write her letter, under which letterhead? The NAACP. I can be friends, I can be family with almost everyone up in here. But what I am not going to do is play with my name and the reputation of the organization that I represent, or the city that I represent, for a personal vendetta. Again, 6,000 plus residents. The letter was addressed to you all. 7 council members. The letter was addressed to us, but no one received this letter except for the mayor, who uses the taxpayer dollars to go meet monthly for her report with the Prince George's County NAACP. That's very interesting. And what has the mayor done with this NAACP letter? Besides going on every social media platform that she has, she also sends it to everyone outside of the city that we as a council have been working so hard to show that this is a unified council. We may not all get along, but when it comes to Glenarden, it's unified. We have money that was coming our way. We were having conversations about money correction that may have been coming our way. And now we look crazy because of this NAACP letter that, again, Linda Thornton Thomas, who wrote this letter that we responded to, by the way, in your packet, put out there. This letter was disingenuous. It was vindictive. It was malicious. What you all need to understand, and I'm sorry for taking time, but I'm shaking. What you all need to understand is, as council members, we get paid probably, after all the work that we do, probably $2 an hour. No benefits, none. So our jobs, our livelihood that actually pays the bills, that provides our medical benefits and everything else, by having such an egregious letter full of lies that Ms. Linda Thornton Thomas, who meets with the mayor only, never discussed with any of us. She never came to anyone, ever. So when you put something out there, you have people who have young children who demand, who requires their parents to work. You have people who have been working in community development for decades, whose name and character are on the line. You have people who are taking care of their mothers, their elderly parents. You have people who have to file conflict of interest forms just to serve for a $2 position. You have people who have government clearances. It's not right. It's not right. And for me, enough is enough. Worse, I know that in here it says unbecoming of an elected official is one of the major things, but what has been done personally to me with this one act, I think I can speak for everyone else. I'm not looking personally to me, it's unbecoming of a human. Because you don't do that. You may not like certain things that we say or do, but we have done nothing illegal. On October 17th, I stated in this very space, that the mayor is playing a dangerous game. You cannot throw lies out there and think that everybody is suddenly rational and nobody's gonna act on words that you say. Fight for democracy against this totalitarian, neo-communistic system of government. Citizens, we are in a fight for democracy. A forward stab at the heart of our democracy. Democracy is under attack. Citizens who treasure democracy, please join the meeting to take your opportunity for a voice against the power. We will not let them silence your voices. We're not going to let it happen. I'm not going to let it happen. Can you all tell the difference between all the statements that I said? Can you tell the difference between Trump and the mayor? Because these are comments that are both from Trump, that are mixed in with the mayor. On October 17th, I said that things could happen. There have been attacks on elected officials. People thought that I was over exaggerating, but then what happened? October 28th, Paul Pelosi gets attacked. Everybody thought nothing could happen in America until January 6th happened. Because we're in America. So now nothing can happen in Glen Arden because we're in Glen Arden. I don't play those games. I'm first generation American, so while politics can be messy and dirty, it shouldn't be deadly. And I don't play those games. I don't. So right now, I am gladly, enthusiastically censoring the mayor. So my vote is yes.
Thank you. I'm not gonna add anything to that. My vote is yes. Vote carries. Okay.
Mr. President.
Okay.
I would like to ask if we can go ahead and pass this on down to signature.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
No.
We can do it. Do it.
President Curtis, this is Mayor Cross, I would like to address this council and the citizens, please.
Mayor Cross, you have your own Zoom. You have your mayor's forum where you get together with your mayors and other, citizens. Please use that. This is the council meeting. I am the presiding officer, and we're discussing council business at this moment. So no, I will not come to you. Thank you. Thank you. And Councilman Jones, this will be waiting for you for signature, but as it stands now, there's 6 signed, There you go, pass back down. Councilwoman Jones will sign it, and this resolution has passed with unanimous consent. Final, before we get to citizens' comments, is ordinance 04-2023, an emergency ordinance to reappropriate funds for fiscal year 2023 to help feed Glen Arden families for Thanksgiving and increase the bonus pool for staff. Councilman Henry can help me with this. So do I bring this to the floor and then bring it as an emergency, or do I?
Emergency.
You have a read and then we'll bring it to the floor.
Okay, all right. I will pull it up. Just give me a second. Okay, here we go. Share my screen for those who are online.
but you want more. Almost slipped.
Again, emergency ordinance, O four 2023. This is sponsored by Council President Derek D. Curtis II. Council Vice President Angela D. Ferguson, Councilmember Erica L. Fareed, Councilmember Kathleen J. Guillaume, Councilmember Maurice A. Hairston, Councilmember James A. Herring, and Councilmember Robin Jones. Co-sponsors, none. The date of introduction is today, November 21st, 2022.
In an emergency ordinance to reappropriate funds for fiscal year 2023 to help cities and our families for Thanksgiving and to increase the bonus pool for staff. Whereas the city of Glen Arden, Maryland, here into the city, is a municipality organized under the authority of Article 11-E of the Constitution of Maryland and is defined by Maryland Code Section 1-101G of Local Government Article. And whereas Maryland Code Section 5-202 of the Local Government Article as amended authorizes the legislative body of each municipal corporation of the state of Maryland to pass ordinances that such legislative body deems necessary to assure the good government of the municipality, to protect and preserve the municipality's rights, property, and privileges, to preserve peace and good order, to secure persons and property during construction, and to protect the health, comfort, and convenience of the citizens of the municipality. And whereas under Charter Article 6, General Powers of the Council, Section 602, point 5, appropriations. The City Council of Glen Arden, thereafter this council, has the express power to appropriate municipal money for any purpose within the powers of the council. And whereas pursuant to Charter Section 602, 21 of the Charter of the council has the express power to extend municipal funds for any public purpose and to have general management and control of the finances of the city. And whereas Charter Section 808B affords the council the power to make emergency appropriations by means of an emergency ordinance to meet public emergency affecting life, health, property, or the public peace. And whereas Section 308 and we respectively provide: 1, an emergency ordinance may be adopted at the same meeting use it is introduced, and 2, may become effective on a date certain. And whereas the city council finds that given the city's desire to assist families or communities during Thanksgiving, in consideration of the temporal proximity of the city's consideration of the ordinance in relation to Thanksgiving constitutes an emergency within the meaning of the Charter Section 808. And now, therefore, be it enacted and ordained by the City Council of Glen Arden, Maryland, sitting in regular session the 21st day of November 2022, the following reappropriations be made. Deduct from the budget lines 10.50.10.7630 telephone and communication, $1,480. Budget line item 10.5.50.10.10.8630 supplies, $1,200. Budget line item 10.50.10.7650 composition training, $5,384. Budget line item 10.50.10.750 advertising, $1,200. Budget line item 10.50.10.7 848 miscellaneous expenses, $600. Line item 10.50.10.7960, membership and dues, and fees, $1,500. Budget line item 10.50.10.3860, support equipment, $2,000. Total to reality payment, $13,364. Funds to be relocated to the following line items. 10.10.10.8647, special events, $4,000. 10.10.10.8361, support equipment, $2,000. 10.75.10.6135, staff bonus pool, $7,364. Total reality, $13,364. Be it further resolved and ordained by the City Council of Glen Arden, Maryland, that this is an emergency ordinance, it shall become effective immediately following the approval by the mayor or passage by the council over the mayor's veto. Date approved, date for approval, November 21st, 2022.
Is there a motion to consider for as an emergency ordinance?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Councilwoman Guillaume. Hearing no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Ferguson. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Fareed.
Before I can move on, I just want to thank the council for consistently coming to the aid and the needs of the citizens of Glen Arden. Whether it be that we were dealing with the variant and that well, we were fortunate enough to have access to some of the COVID type of drugs, and we have done that throughout the year. And now in a situation where we have an opportunity to provide cooking meals to families in the city of Glen Arden. We will feed 200 to 300 people with those cooked meals. They will receive those on Wednesday, and that is due to the sort of action of the council. So thank you so much for all that you have done. My vote is yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Yes.
Councilman Harrison.
Yes.
Councilman Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
yes,
Vice President Ferguson.
Yes.
President Murray.
Yes,
Vote 3-7-0.
and I'd like for us to sign it now, if we can, please. And with the unanimous consent, this overrides any veto power of the mayor. And
Mr. President, still go to the mayor now.
yeah, that's fine.
We would just cancel them down to around 6 days to start.
Oh, okay. Well, you the rest of it, please. Is it? Good. All right. With that, That concludes our legislation. We're going to move to the next phase with the citizens' comments. So before we go to citizens' comments, house rules. So people have 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes. If you raise your hand, I will call on you. So please don't stand up there and get in the line. Just raise your hand and I'll call on you. 3 minutes. And according to council rules, there's no disturbances, respect people's right to speak. I am going to, if it's. Yeah. So there would be a warning if you get out of line, and if you do not heed that warning, then our awesome officers who has made this the third safest city in the state of Maryland will politely escort you out of the room. Having said that, 3 minutes. The first person who is at the podium, Ms. Crutchfield. I'm sorry, but before you start, so yeah, it is your job to. I'm gonna give you 1 minute. When I put the one finger up, that means you have 1 minute left. Once I come again, that means your time is up. Okay, so I don't want to be rude to anybody, just to rudely cut people off. But it's your job to make sure you're aware of your time. I will give you that 1 minute warning, and then once I come back, the second one will be that's your time. I'm sorry. No. I've already called on Ms. Crutchfield, so just give me a second. I don't know what you're talking about, but if you give me a second. All right, Ms. Crutchfield, you're up.
Good evening. I'm correct, because that was the accident earlier. I come on behalf of the citizens of Glenarm. I'm Google, so I sound cool. I come on behalf of the citizens of Glenarm. And I said before when I was here that this city of Glenarm Council has been given for 100 of years. I'm gonna put it out for years. And when you all were for election, several of you came to my house. I prayed for you. I do. I'm not going to point you out. There was unity there. Now I'm seeing a divided council, and I'm hurting by that. And the reason I am, because I expected this council and the mayor to have unity. This is not a unity. So from this point forward, I'm that business will be for the citizens of Glenarm, as well as unity in the city of Glenarm. You all figure out, you all get past this. It's done, it's finished. Let's get past this and move forward for the citizens of Glenarm.
Thank you. Because I saw Mr. Cross, I'm gonna go to him first and then I'll come to you, Mr. Phil. All right. Just for expectation, I'm gonna go to Mr. Cross, Mr. Delmar. I'm gonna go with, I only have one online. So I have a break for Delmar to go to one online, then I'll come back in here, okay? With that, Mr. Cross.
Yes, just want to know, are elected officials employees of the city, or are they elected by the citizens? If they're elected by the citizens, Mayor Cross works for the citizens. She does not work for the council. She was not hired by the council. How can the council come forward with a personal action on an elected official? And if it is a personal action, because her name is put inside resolution R 15-223, it's a personnel action that's being discussed in an open forum. So how are we allowed to do those kind of actions right there? Foremost, Mayor Cross was defamed and named twice in this meeting alone. She was called Trump and she was called, unbeing of a human. So she was calling the lower human being in this alone and called a liar. She made a video to actually depict all the information that you guys are going against, but yet she was denied to be able to play that on a public forum to the citizens. Mayor Cross also is a citizen of the city, so she should be allowed to step down from her seat there as the mayor and come and speak for herself as a citizen. And not be able to come back up on the dais after that. Now, under my understanding, that's allowed and that's a rule that's in play. Am I right or wrong?
I encourage you to finish your whole statement, then we'll address all your questions, because you only have 1 minute left.
Another one, how is she spending taxpayers' money? What's the mayor's hours of operation? Do you know exactly what time, what day she went and speak with anyone? And she's under the same $2 an hour that everyone is on as a pretty much a volunteer as a mayor of the city of Glenarden. She puts in her regular 8-hour day just as you all do, and she still comes in and puts in another 8 to 14 hours working for the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, since some of the statements
Sure.
were towards my comments, may I
Sure.
respond?
Councilman Guillaume.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. I want to go on record again and make sure that what I said is accurately restated. What I said was, well, first of all, as far as censoring, I hope or I recommend that everyone, not just citizens of Glenarden, but everyone familiarize themselves with local government, and they can see why city council members are allowed to censor mayors. The city of Glenarden is not the first city to censor a mayor, and unfortunately, I gotta be the last. So that's to answer your point about censorship. The second thing, when you mentioned about unbecoming of a human, let me be very clear. I said, that I wrote what I said, as far as that was concerned, I said, we stated that there was behavior unbecoming of an elected official, but if I could, I would censor for behavior unbecoming of a human because of the attack of our livelihoods that has been done through slanderous acts. That's what I said, again, for clarification. Number 3, Mr. Cross, you mentioned that she was called Trump. I don't think anyone here can say that I specifically said that the mayor was Trump. What I said was, I read statements, and I said, can anyone tell me whose statements were the mayor and whose statements were Trump? That's what I said. And just to add an additional point of clarification, the mayor gets paid more than the council. So if she's not getting paid out $2, she's probably getting paid out for $4, but it's more than the council. Just to go on record and respond to that.
And just, I'm sorry, because I think one was referencing my statement. At no time did I call the mayor a liar. In my statement, I said she lied, but my son has lied to me, but he's not a liar. And no one can dispute. I'll ask you, do you know of any resolution where we have put forth to remove Mayor Cross? No, I'm asking, are you aware of any resolution that the council's put forth to remove Mayor Cross?
I can't speak on anything that you guys are working on in the background.
Okay, it has never happened. I spoke with the mayor.
You can't work.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, we,
Says, alone, bro, we can't work on nothing in the background.
They can't steal stuff from 7-Eleven.
This is my thing, but how many times have you like, you probably had separate interactions with everybody up there, including myself and him. Like, when did you ever like step up and her husband step up to try to find peace within the council and your wife? That's number one, and number two, what have I done in your wife? Like, I know the CP, she wrote council. Have I gave you a problem? Bro, have I ever gave you a problem? Have I ever gave you a problem? No, so you can't just go over there and be like, let everybody know better, and you put it out there like it's everybody. So you gotta hold the family accountable for that.
so just to finish off a point, because I want to make that clear for the record. Never was Mayor Cross called a liar, but the fact is that we have never, ever put forth a resolution to remove Mayor Cross, not once. I communicated that to Mayor Cross before she went to the NAACP, before she went to the news broadcasters. I also checked in with the chairman of that committee, Councilwoman Fareed, just to be on the same page with Mayor Cross. Even in knowing that, she continued to spread a false statement. Even in the public hearing, when we presented all the facts, and everyone who came thinking that they would come to with their pitchforks to give it to the council because they thought we were doing something under the direction of Mayor Cross, found that we weren't doing what Mayor Cross had told them. We never did. And even after that public hearing and stating the facts, she went out again and posted the same letter that said that we were doing it. That is a lie. And that is why I had that in my opening statement. Never called her a liar, but that is fact.
You know, that's also she's not a resolution, well, but she's not able to address.
Thank you, but you can't say, well, that's a lie, but there's falsities here. That doesn't necessarily work. And it's not. But thank you, Mr. Cross. I've never had a bad run-in with you, so I appreciate your comments. Your 3 minutes are up.
No,
And I'm sorry. I'll go to Vice President and then Councilwoman.
you mentioned that, she was called a liar. I called her a liar from the beginning. She made a statement, and I did not make that statement. She also said she never called, or Ms. Jones, trying to call us to just declare her the mayor, to clearly go against the charter. It's really sad, because, the definition that I know, both nationally and personally, when you lie, it's a liar. She is a lie, yeah. And she lies, and it's sad. And I do pray for her, because I mean, just for no reason. I have had conversations with her about signing checks, and Derek would sign a check, President Kirk would sign a check. She literally told me that he was a demon from hell. And I said, I don't accept that. I have written emails where she called us thugs, all kinds of stuff. A whole lot of stuff she said about our HR person. Her going out, hollering and screaming, with the treasurer and in front of, the acting, the past acting, city manager, because they wouldn't sign checks. I mean, literally having a tantrum. These are things that, we as, council members, while the employees are supervised underneath the, city manager, they also, I mean, we do have a responsibility as well. If they want to come to us and talk to us, I mean, they don't want to hear that kind of stuff. They don't want to be tiptoeing, because they're so scared that they're going to lose their job or things like that. So I did call her that. I did. And I stand by it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, I want to address the point around personnel and the personnel policy. I think it's important that we look at ourselves as the elected officials and leaders that we're supposed to be, and we cannot expect the employees to follow the standards that we ourselves cannot follow. especially with us being in the party, we need to tread that line very carefully, even more so than employees. So I think while the elected officials are not employees of the city, so to speak, the expectations of the behavior should be exhibited by city employees should especially be exhibited by the elected officials. And I did want to address something. I've been trying to be, quiet, but I think it needs to be said about the points around unity and what's happening. I think the city council, the seven of us, we do not always agree. But I feel that we are unified in the sense that we're always trying to do what's right for the city. I believe that attempts have been made, I can speak for myself, personally, numerous attempts. I've even been, been said in jest or joking that I bend over backwards to try and, collaborate and work with the mayor, over this administration. And, I'm very disappointed that we are where we are right now, despite, numerous efforts to, reason together and try to come to a place of understanding. As Council President, mentioned, he did, call me and let me know that there were concerns around what was being proposed in the Priority Review Committee. I did reach out to Mayor Cross, to try to have a conversation with her and explain what was being proposed and how I in fact thought that the proposal was allow the mayor's role to have more authority than it currently has, as Mr. Aaron points out, and attended the town hall heard. The mayor's responsibilities are very limited in the city of Glen Arden in comparison to the council. And the proposal that was being put forth would give the mayor much broader responsibility than that role currently has right now, being the chair of the council. So in the setting like this, where council president is sitting right now, that is where the mayor would be sitting. The mayor would be the presiding officer and directing that type of thing, in addition to being able to bring forth legislation, which was currently the case is that legislation had to be brought through the council, so it was mostly sponsored by a council member. And even with this additional enlightenment, the narrative was still pushed that something that was happening was not happening. So there were opportunities to have that conversation and for the information to be pulled back and say, maybe I misunderstood, but instead it was double, triple, quadruple down on, and we continue to have to defend that even to this day. And that's very disappointing when we're really trying to do things to help the citizens broadly. And so we know this has been done now and we want to move forward, and we just ask that the citizens can continue to work with us and collaborate and make sure the city of Glen Arden remains a shining gem that it is.
Thank you. And I'll just say, in its totality, and I'll cap this off, that, because the thought was like, the council's lying, it's very hard for more than 3 people to collude on anything. It's going to leak. You can't have 7 people collude to do, something secretly, because there's too many holes in there. 1, 2, 3 max. But not only are we unified in this matter, and let's just say, for example, that somehow you still can't believe the 7 of them. Well, a city manager is gone. That's another person. The mayor tried to bully the current acting city manager.
Remember that email?
Yeah.
If you want me
So we're not gonna go down that route. But I'm just saying that to show that it's just not the 7 of us as to why we're doing this. And thankfully, our acting city manager is a strong leader and fair. He's not going to say, okay, I'm just going to side the council, no. He calls balls and strikes, and he holds his ground. And so we appreciate that. But at some point, there's a common denominator. and you can't keep on pointing the finger outward. It takes a lot of character, true leadership and courage to just to say, no, I got it wrong. And I'm still waiting on that. And Mario, sorry, Mr. Cross, I honestly, I do appreciate you. Our interactions have always been positive, and you've been made aware of the tension between the legislative branch and the executive branch, and you've always treated me with respect and never allowed that to get in the way of human decency. So for that, I appreciate you. Thank you. With that, Mr. Delmar. Did I say that right? Yeah. Okay, sorry. You have to turn it on.
So, citizen here, a minute ago, said there's no unity council. I'm not really sure about that. Compared to, the council last year, this is the motion I've seen, agree to disagree, keep it moving, discuss things, so I don't know what she's talking about like that, not to talk about another citizen, but she said that. So I was in a meeting, I think October 17th, where the mayor suggested that the council may not agree with whatever resolution or legislation she was bringing forward, and Councilman Harron said, well, send us a resolution, let us vote on it. From what I read tonight, you never got the resolution. So my question is, has there been any legislation, ordinance, resolution that's come across the council that's the vote on it?
Not as it relates to the substance of like what Councilwoman Guillaume presented to help out citizens and impoverished or anything like that. There have been resolutions to like, I think, appoint people to the committees. To answer your question, yes, there have been resolutions. They've been more administrative in nature, but yes.
But you're saying nothing with the city issue.
I would say that it helps in helping the city move forward. Actually, the city manager Bachman who submitted all those. I would have to look and see what the mayor has put forward, because I think those will come from Jordan, the executive assistant. But I cannot recall anything that's helping the citizens move forward. For example, the mayor mentioned that there was someone who was put out months before and she helped them through the county. Well, that never came in resolution form. So then there was a second one and that person went. And I assume that person was evicted, but still we're waiting on the resolution to help everyone in that situation. So I'm not going to say no, I can't recall all of the resolutions that the mayor sends for us, but from my recollection, I haven't seen anything of substance. And she has not communicated with us to work with us on things of substance. And I've been in her office and on the phone, and I live around the corner from her.
Also, one of the mayor's report, she says, for city council direction on board, seeing canceling American National Fitness Parks, $30,000 grant on 7th Street resolution. When we read stuff like that as a citizen, you automatically go, why the council going against everything the mayor does? And some of this is disingenuous because that's what happened. And this is what happens where you have some citizens that, as the mayor, they're hearing one thing, and then you have the facts. And the facts really matters. Citizens that's just hearing one thing and going with it, read the facts. The paperwork is here, everything is here. Don't just go with somebody's. Don't go with the council. My wife's a councilwoman. She can tell me something. I read for myself. She can't just tell me something. I don't go and investigate. So I'm just saying, citizens that's on one side or the other, don't go on any side. Read the facts. Pick up this documentation. Read it for yourself. Understand what's going on. It's not them against us or us against them. It's right against them. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Fareed.
So I want to address that's an important part, right? It's black context. So in October of 2021, the council passed a resolution to establish a playground at the 7th Street Park. For those who don't know, there used to be a park at 7th Street which had gotten overgrown and it's not in use anymore. And that resolution was sponsored by myself, Council Leon, and Council Vice President Ferguson. At that time, when the resolution was passed, the direction was to the city administrator, who appropriately administrates the matters of the city, was to identify a designer and an engineer to get the ball rolling on getting a park established. That plan was derailed, and what was then introduced was the conversation around installing a fitness court at 7th Street Park. And a fitness court was not for the children, but rather for adults to do calisthenics exercises, bodily exercises. And this was an example in which I tried to collaborate with the mayor in saying, okay, let's prioritize the park because that's the playground, because that was the purpose of the resolution. We can look at, what space is available once we have a design to be able to do a fitness court. The resolution was brought forward that the council did not pass in order to advance. Something that you may not know is that in order for a grant to be accepted or for money over a certain amount to be spent, there has to be a resolution passed for that. So as an example, you saw for the Christmas party, the caterer being put forward because that was over the threshold. So anytime money is to be spent, it needs to go through a council resolution. Unfortunately, that did not happen in this case. I was copied on the email about a fitness court being delivered to 7th Street Park, and where was that fitness court going to be stored? The value of that fitness court per the resolution that was proposed, that was tabled, was a $30,000 grant plus an additional $110,000 that was asked for us to spend as part of the ARPA money. And to make sure that we were not going to have to be obligated to pay that $110,000, which was what we tabled the resolution for to begin with, we had to say that resolution needed to be canceled. So the receipt, the fact that a fitness court was being delivered means that a grant was accepted of $30,000, which is in violation of the city's rule. And the acceptance of that also would obligate us for that at $100,000+. And so that is why it was canceled. That's not to say that a fitness court can never go in that space, and we have to do everything in order, and that is not happening in the right place.
That's how it's important.
Exactly.
Thank you. All right, as promised, I'm gonna go online and then Mr. Royal Montgomery and ma'am, and then Mr. Powell. Okay, and I'll actually put my volume on so you can hear her. Dr. Cross. I'm sorry.
Hi, can you hear me?
1 second. Yes, we can hear you. Have 3 minutes.
Okay, let's go. So thanks for the opportunity. I would like to say, based on what I've been hearing over the last 3 minutes, when someone responds to an accusation, if you will, or a comment, and it's reactive to defend themselves, it sounds like to me this is a witch hunt. So when you're saying that you all are agree, it still doesn't make it right. And it seems to me that if someone wants to get along and do what you say you want to do in order for the citizens to benefit, then your reaction is still making that one person out of a martyr And if that person disagrees or questions anything that the group who is unified, then they're considered hostile. Which reminds me, since this is Christmas time, of how Jesus was treated. So I would take I just don't see how someone can feel comfortable looking in a mirror at themselves and pointing their finger at someone else and saying, you did it, when there's no way one person can do it all by themselves. And I don't see anything that's so egregious that a censure has to be made. And everything else that I've heard, I would just say this. It is truly wrong. And whether if anybody else could see it, we all agree too. And we are all unified that this is wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. When you say we are all unified, do you live in the city of Florida?
I apologize, Mr. Derek Curtis II. I'm getting feedback when you speak, sir.
Do you live in the city?
I'm getting double feedback.
Do you live in the city of Glen Arden?
Oh, no, sir, and I would never live there after seeing this, the way you guys are acting.
Thank you. It's hard to see how you don't see anything egregious and you don't live in the city of Glen Arden. And it's hard to say that we're unified. I don't know who we are if you live in Virginia, but I thank you for your comments.
I'm a United States citizen, sir.
Mr. Richard Royal Montgomery.
Before I get started, don't take the time on me yet, please. I just want to say that I have prepared my comments in advance. I timed it. I'm probably 5 seconds old. So please allow me.
I don't know.
A little longer because I need couple of words.
I mean,
It's just 5 seconds. I promise.
you just spent 45. Please go. You gotta turn it on.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. During my 7 years as a resident of the city of Glen Arden, real fast, I have seen our city council attempt to censure the mayor of Glen Arden on 2 different occasions. I have stood in opposition of the past censure along with the divided council because I felt the censures were unwarranted. What's different about tonight's censure is that it was introduced by the entire council, which also includes council members who once stood divided in past censure. The mere fact that all 7 council members now stand in unison and in support of the censure should speak volumes to any citizens who may be questioning the actions of our city council. Mayor Cross has accused the council of fallacies, or fancy word for lies, in her recently posted online video, but fails to address the lies that she herself has disseminated on social media and to our surrounding cities and communities. On October 20th, members of the City Charter Review Committee held a public hearing to discuss proposed changes to the city charter, which would address charter conflicts relating to the duties of the mayor and the city council. At least that's the public hearing I thought I was attending that night. Instead, there were a number of people in attendance, mostly non-residents of Glen Arden, who were there to speak out against the removal of the mayor and the mayor's power. Some of those who attended the meeting believed it was a meeting to remove the mayor and her responsibilities, because that is the lie that the mayor herself presented to them. I know this to be true because I myself read the mayor's online post, which stated these lies. But the shape of it all is that these are lies being told to others outside of the city of Glen Arden. Others who don't have a say so in our government, who don't pay taxes in our city. Our city business should stay in and within the walls of the city of Glen Arden, which is where it belongs. The mayor is someone who has to have her way or else. This fact was clearly demonstrated shortly after the 2021 state elections, when then citizen Kashina Cross decided to name the city of Glen Arden and myself, not the Board of Elections, just me, in a petty and meaningless lawsuit,
Why a lawsuit? Because she wrongfully assumed that she would get the 50% plus one vote, and when she didn't and realized it would be a runoff, she sued, claiming the 50% one plus rule was made up and that she didn't know about it. However, what she failed to mention was that she was told on more than one occasion that the rule by others and myself. Specifically, one day when she stood in my driveway, to which she responded, "Oh, I'm not concerned about that." Citizens, I have no need to lie, and this is a fact that can be backed up by text messages. Lastly, I was initially a great supporter of Ms. Cross when she was a candidate, but what she won't tell you is that I'm also the one who encouraged her to run in the first place. Needless to say, my support for her is now null and void because of her ongoing antics. Citizens, don't allow yourself to be trapped into one-sided lies. Get the facts, know the facts. I support the censorship. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richard Arroyo Montgomery, and for the record, that was 9 seconds over.
And I stumbled.
Ma'am?
Good evening. So I've been a resident of Glenarden for about 6 years, but I also manage close to 100 employees. And so I try really hard to lead by example. And I worry all the time whether or not I'm demonstrating leadership quality. So when I saw the mayor's online post, I was immediately alarmed by what I was reading. How could they do this? But I took the time to educate myself and research and understand what was really going on. And what I learned was her post was really misconstrued and I thought rather dramatic. Once I took my time to do my research. So what I just want to say to the council is, you know, we did hear earlier that this is not a unified council, but what I saw tonight was leadership. A unified council that saw action needed to be taken, even if that action meant censoring the mayor, right? That's not always popular, but you stepped up to protect the citizens because you know that she was wrong. And I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm sorry, and what's your name? Michelle Fisher. Thank you. One second. I did say that he'll be next. Are you ready, Mr. Powell?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stewart, does the city have enough money in the bank account to have a recreation fund? I have a question for Mr. Curtis. I believe the next city election is May of 2024. Why did the city council vote to put in numerous amendments and top resolutions that are being proposed on the ballot during the next election? Ms. Ferguson, I have a question for you. Deborah Easton and Conwan Williams are former council members. During the city council meeting, a former council member called Easton a half-white cracker. At another city meeting, a city council member called insults at Mr. Williams. I received a letter at my house from 3 council members that was city letterhead criticizing the private individual who happened to be sitting in the audience and asking the citizens to sign a petition about closing the Greenlawn Parkway. And these council members were never censored by the city council. So I'm wondering, you make a big deal about censoring the mayor, but when the council does wrong, there's no censor for the city council. And I want you to explain to the citizens in here and the citizens online, why the city council members are no censored for their acts, for their bad behavior, but you always censor the mayor, you censor Mayor Smith, He's tried to sit the mayor Anderson. He sits the mayor, he tried to sit the mayor, Estes twice. Now he sits the mayor Cross. So I think you need to kind of balance this out, you know? When Ms. Jenkins was here, we'd be here to minute, cause y'all be first, Ms. Jenkins. And Ms. Spike, Ms. Davis, and the people would never censor for their behavior. So I like to explain to the citizens why it's like a double standard. You know, when it comes to a censor resolution. And I thank you for allowing me to speak.
He asked her a question, so,
The answer, you asked me a question, okay, I do remember some of those incidents. And as far as, Ms. Easton is concerned, she wanted to handle it her way. We did, put in our rules about, addressing those things. They never happened again, but you said that, we didn't do anything. That was offense to her, and she chose to deal with it the way she did. So, that doesn't mean that anything did not happen, or, you know, we wasn't responsible for doing that. The next thing I wanted to say, the person, Ms. East, she wanted to handle it her way, and it didn't require that. So if she wanted to say leave it alone or whatever, that was her, that's what she wanted to do. The other thing I want to address, to you is that, a lot of these scenarios and Mr. Anderson and things such as that, you know, I really think that y'all, we need to, we stop doing what you're doing, because we were not really, we were council members. So you cannot keep accusing meeting after meeting, saying the council did this and the council did that. No, we did not do that. I was not a council member when Mr. Anderson was, was the mayor. I was not with Dennis. I ran with them. We did not make it. But what I'm saying to you is that I really wish you would not do that, because then you're becoming accusatory. You keep bringing up old stuff about what the council did. And that, one of the things, I will say, I was on the, council last term, and we, on this time, we are unified. We get along fine. All that other stuff, arguing and bickering and stuff like that, we don't do that here. This is a new council, and I really wish that you would not, you and each other, I mean, even such as, the last, citizen, especially, you cannot accuse us of something prior to May 2021.
Mr. Powell,
Okay,
Mr. Powell,
Mr. Powell, I just told you.
I know what you're saying.
Okay,
I'm saying.
okay, no, okay, what I'm saying is this: if the person that was insulted says, leave it alone, I don't want anything done, then we have to respect it. Anything outside of it is disrespect to that person. So nothing was done that you know of.
All right, so Ms. Powell, your time is up. I'm going to give it to Councilwoman Marie, because she wants to say something. Oh, you had oh.
Oh, we answered about reclamation.
Well, I'll wait till you come back.
Mr. Powell?
Oh, he's been before that.
He got it.
Hold on.
No, no, you're fine. Have your seat. So you asked me a question too. I just want to make clear, for clarity, the elections did 2025, not 2024. And some of that, you direct to me, I think that Ms. Marie is going to answer it, so I'll just hand it over to her.
Thank you, Mr. Powell, for your question. I think we addressed that a public hearing before, but there's a process for passing the charter resolution, which the state has laid out, and that process is not putting it on the ballot. I'm actually not even sure that allowed for individual municipalities to put something on the ballot like the county and the state does. But nonetheless, that we are following the process for charter resolution. And I just want to make another comment, this keeps coming up about what the past council did. I'm a new council member, and best believe if someone on this council was acting up, I'm gonna say something and address it. So, I don't think we had the opportunity to have to censure anyone, thankfully, on this council. But I don't believe that this is not a situation where it's the only thing that can happen is that council can censure me. Council members can be censured as well. So I think we just need to look at what's happening now and look at the council members now. Everything that I said that I represented and stood for when I ran is what I'm standing for and representing now. I have a strong mind, my own opinions. While I agree with many of my colleagues most of the time, I do not agree with them all the time. But disagreeing with someone does not mean to act the fool. So.
No. Mr. Powell, no, Mr. Powell, Mr. Powell. Now, the acting chief wants you back to your seat. Now, you had your 3 minutes. Now, if you interrupt again, he will escort you out the building.
Okay, good.
Okay, now, Mr. Powell, I'm being very patient with you. Now, you have our email addresses. I see emails from you all the time.
Okay.
So if you have a follow-up, send a follow-up. All right? Is that all? All right, and just to, can I just close out this point for a second? I've been fortunate to be council president twice, trying to lobby for other people to be it. But it's a privilege to be council president. You know, it's not a position of authority. It's just a position that liaises with the other branches of government and works actually for the council. And I have been a big proponent of, if I'm not doing my job, my fellow council members being able to remove me as council president, because it's a privilege and responsibility to be here. So there are, everybody has their own mind, but we are, there's currently no legislation to do this, but I'm a big proponent in holding each other accountable. And I think we've done a good job at that. I don't think anybody's done anything egregious at this point to be censored, as Councilman Fareed said, but I wholeheartedly agree with you that there should be checks and balances across the entire government. But Councilman Herring?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think Ms. Powell, I go through that 91 meeting. She's 90% of the time she was addressing me, because I was on all of those councils that you just mentioned, and I was on all the senators that you just mentioned. And my thing is this, in councilman, anybody with this meeting that's seen a councilman that told me up outside and down the other, if I did something. So, but the bottom line is that everybody has the right to be. You're not gonna get that to the up one side and down the other, because it's just their right to say what they want to say. But you continue to come to this mic and talk about, what the old council did, what the old council did. But yet, when they were chewing me up and being disrespectful, you didn't say a word. You yourself pick and choose when you want to address disciplinary actions on a council member. So you do the same way that I did when the same, all the people I did that went on advertising went on for the foreclosure. The same exact one, but then all the property values about home. So I'm saying honestly, for me, there's not much you can say that I would even want to listen to. Honestly, because you did regurgitate the same thing over and over again. Your points are they said no merit to any of them. So come up here, whine about this bad conference, this bad conference, this bad conference. Take it to somebody who want to hear it. You got to even point something out there to listen to you. We're going to figure here with something. And you come in here, bring it up and you get regurgitate. So, that's what I got to say. I'm passionate about it. If you want to say Councilman Herring, don't be scared to say my name. Because probably like you're gonna have to call down and say it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Mr. Stewart, did you want to respond to his question?
I'll respond to you via email.
Okay. All right. Are there any other comments, questions? I didn't see any other additional comments online. Going once,
You don't have to see.
going twice.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, council comments.
yeah, I'm just, this is just closing out the city, citizen.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. And if you can state your name, please.
Good evening, my name is Dominica, and so I don't normally come to these meetings, I usually, watch the meeting minutes or watch the videos online. But I did see the mayor's video, and so I was concerned, I was actually concerned from an older meeting where it was said that our vote would be taken away, so I was a little concerned about that. So I started going back and watching all the meeting minutes, and there's a lot of conflicting information, so I'm not really sure what's happening, but, I think it was comfortable and really explain what was happening with the charter, why things were being changed, and so when I looked at, video that was posted online, maybe 2 or 3 days ago, what I saw was there was some agreement to the charter not being in line with the responsibilities of the, I believe it was the city manager and the mayor. I think there was some overlapping responsibilities. I think that's what Councilwoman Reed was pointing out. And so was it last month? I saw the letter from the NAACP. So of course, I'm concerned. I'm like, what's happening? Is our vote being taken away? I need to understand what's happening and why. So that was the first, that's, my antenna went up. It's like, I need to understand what's happening. And then eventually, Council pretty much explained everything. It was like, okay. But I was trying to bridge the gap between the disconnect between the mayor and the city council. But then when I saw the video the other day, it was like, okay, but I don't really understand. I'm still a bit confused as to what the actual issue is, because now the video pointed out that, hey, the charter does have some overlapping responsibilities and we need to, work that out. So I heard the thing with unity, and it seems the city council seems to be united, but I'm not really sure why everyone's not working together for our benefit, and that includes the mayor. And so that's the biggest concern here. And so I don't want us to waste time with you guys, anyone of you to waste time bickering between amongst one another, because I'm figuring out as a citizen, how am I being helped? How does this apply to me? I don't care what the person's issues are. I just want to help as a citizen. I can come to my city council, I can come to my mayor, and I'm going to see how, and I'm not having to deal with who doesn't like who, because I really don't care. I just results for the citizens of the town. Thank you.
Thank you. So, okay.
Hello, hi, my name is Nancy Woodson, and I am not a resident of Glenarden. However, I live in DC and I live in PG County, and I have a lot of friends in Glenarden, and I was just concerned about how it makes the city look, because it's a great city. I won't stay up here long because I'm not a Glenarden resident. I got the resident. But I did just want to say that I am close proximity to Glenarden, and I just don't want it to leave a mark on what the council is doing and what you all are trying to do and move forward. And I do love return events, and I do see unity. And even though I'm not a resident of Glenarden, I do stand with the council. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, for full transparency, the mayor does have her hand up to speak. As a presiding officer, we're not going to accept any comments from the mayor at this time. The mayor has a platform and by which she has used and continue to use to get her message out. This is, I remind you, a council meeting. And I have discretion as the presiding officer on who gets to go up to the podium, basically. I try not to be biased, and when it comes to our citizens and all of our citizens who are in the audience and who want to speak have spoken. But I will be fully transparent. The reason why I'm not going to the mayor is because I just don't feel like hearing any more lies. We've spoken the truth. And at this meeting, because she has tainted other meetings, as a presiding officer, I will not allow it. She has First Amendment rights to go out and continue to put it on her social media. She has a Zoom account provided by the city to go and say whatever she wants to say. But in this meeting, we will speak the truth. And that's all I'm going to stand for tonight. So that's for full transparency for those in the room and full transparency for those on the line. With that, that is the end of the. No, I was gonna say that was the end of the citizens' comments. We're going to close it out with council comments and dismiss. So with that, we'll have closing comments by council members, and we'll start with Councilman Herring.
I wasn't going to a whole long thing, but I don't feel like it's late. So I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have an enjoyable day with your family, your loved ones. Happy Thanksgiving.
We'll just go down. Go ahead.
I just want to say, happy holidays. I just want to say it's possible that one council's all agree on the same thing. We all different, so we have to think that we just like go have it together and come up with a master plan to lay out. That's crazy. I feel like honestly, this took a lot of my time because I could have been at home saving the world trying to figure out how to do things with Renard. Anybody know we know how to do purposeful things for the city. What we do, cancer awareness events, 600 feds to clean up records and give people a second chance in the community. We do Renard days. We give youth the opportunity to come on their own platforms and perform. Personally, I don't have a problem with nobody. But I just feel like if you addressing somebody, address who you got the problem with. Don't just put a mass amount of people's name in a letter and send it out. And if you, before you do something like that, sit down and have a conversation. You know, have a drama for peace. Yeah, that's it. Happy holidays.
Councilwoman Fareed. Yeah.
Well, I just want to, thank the citizens for continuing to be engaged. We have a lot of great things going on in the city, so this is just a little blip in the road. We are finally getting underway with the 7th Street Park development. We had a design session on Saturday with the neighborhood design center where people were able to provide their input on what they would like to see there. So we are very excited about hopefully becoming sometime in the warmer months next year. And for those of you who are going to be doing something on Thanksgiving, eat well. I will get macaroni and cheese is really good. And then there's no reason to do the potato salad, and then you just get to have a great time with your friends and family, and take some time for recuperation over the next weekend. Thank you.
So wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I meant to do this earlier. If we could just take a quick moment of silence for some folks who lost their loved ones. I know, Sheriff Logan Hyde passed away. He served the county for a long time. If we can just take a moment of silence for Sheriff Hyde and others. Thank you. And I just want to say, I am not going to apologize for the emotions attached to my comments, my commentary, because I'm not going to prolong this meeting here. I just want to say that I am passionate because I know the cycle that I broke in for my family. And a lot of us fought hard to get to where we are right now. We experienced poverty, drugs in our homes and everything. So for anyone listening to our meeting and they're seeing how we're incensed and how we're unified and continuing decision, there's emotion behind it because we know where we came from. At the end of the day, I'm grateful for all of here. I'm grateful for the non-citizens of Glenarden who have positive things to say about Glenarden, even within their commentary. And those who don't live in Glenarden, who didn't have anything positive to say, you don't need to come back. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Vice President Ferguson.
Can't follow that, but, I just want to wish everybody a very blessed and happy Thanksgiving. We have so much to be thankful for. We survived COVID, I mean, you know, we're living, and so we just want to be thankful for everything. And, I just appreciate y'all staying out here over the long time stuff and just enjoying and continue to come out, for. And also, I just want to, let you know, we look forward to a postcard in the mail shortly, for, we're gonna do a Christmas, holiday party for, free, resident. It'll be Saturday, December 17th, 2022, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. in the Gold Room. So, card will be out shortly, so, with instructions. And have a blessed holiday.
Council Pagano.
I'm not sure you all can really hear me, but I ditto my colleagues in saying for the citizens and for my colleagues, please have a very blessed Thanksgiving. There's so many things to be thankful for, regardless of what it looks like, any situation that you're going through. We have so many things to be thankful for. Just thank God for all of the marvelous blessings that he has bestowed on us. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna do something really quickly. I'll be remiss if I did not do this. As I said before, just going back to the comments of attempted bullying by the mayor in her latest video, where she accused our current city manager of not doing the right thing by not adhering to the charter. If you want to go to our website yourselves to get facts, you can come to government. You can go to approved legislation. Under approved legislation, it'll be the 2021 legislation, which she referenced and she knows about. It'll be charter resolutions. It's not hard to find at all. And this 502 city manager is where it was changed, where the city manager reports to both the, as you can see here, well, it's kind of small for you guys, but report to the mayor and council for the administration of city affairs placed in his or her charge by the mayor or councilor under the charter. So the fact that the mayor disputed that this exists is false. It exists, it is on the website, go look for it yourselves. This is the updated charter. So with that, I want to do two things. I want to thank you to our officers today, and you know, hash it out in the very long meetings. Being in public service is also a thankless job. And so chief, for you and your officers, Captain Jackson, really, Ms. Powell, really appreciate the work that you do here in the city. We could not be safe without you. I've witnessed it myself with Mr. Jackson. You know, police officers get a lot of flack. People are quick to criticize and not quick to say thank you. So I'm using this opportunity to say thank you. You are appreciated. You're valued in the city. Chief, you're doing a great job. Officers, you're doing a great job. And we just hope, you know, pray continue safety over you, your families, and pray that everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, so we'll have one more, in December the fifth, then we'll be a recess into January. So I'm glad to see so many people come out to these meetings. Usually we have about one or two in the audience. So please feel free to come back and make your voices heard because your voices matter in the city. We do serve you. So we just want to get as much feedback from you guys as possible. So thank you. God bless and have a good night. At this time, it is 11:15. This meeting is now adjourned.